This is a story of rebirth. In a world where strength reigns supreme, witness how a useless young miss undergoes a Neapolitan rebirth. In her past life, she was a highly respected bounty hunter. During a mission, she crossed between life and death, finding herself in the body of a good-for-nothing. Born with useless meridians, she became the family's disgrace, constantly humiliated and living a Bayway life. Just after crossing over, she found herself amidst a raging inferno. The heroine refused to die like this. At this moment, a mysterious devil appeared. The heroine made a pact with him. After escaping death, she vowed to tear apart those who had harmed her. While on a mission, the former bounty hunter, along with an ancient jade, was blown to smithereens. Upon waking, she found herself alive, hearing someone crying. Lying on the ground with a throbbing headache, she had no idea where she was. Then, a woman called her Linghu Qingxue, grabbed her hair, and punched her to the ground. Others around her continued to hurl insults, cursing her for not being dead yet. Linghu Qingxue didn't know who they were, but she was certain the injuries on her body were inflicted by these two women. She felt unable to summon her inner strength or spiritual power. Her ankle was dislocated, rendering her powerless. Beside her lay a boy who called himself Xianqing, constantly blaming himself for failing to protect his sister. A tall young man appeared beside Xianqing, pinning him down firmly. Before Linghu Qingxue could grasp the situation, a sharp pain shot through her head. Memories that didn't belong to her flooded her mind. She heard the insults from those around her, the Nangong family's broken engagement, and the kind concern of an old man. These were the original owner's memories. Had she transmigrated? Before she could adapt to these memories, Linghu Qingxue was whipped again. Coughing up blood, the woman beside her continued to clamor for her death. Suddenly, Linghu Qingxue's eyes changed, no longer holding their previous timidity. This shift frightened Yumeng. Luo Qi, who was standing nearby, called for Pukong. Lu Fu ordered him to kill Linghu Qingxue, calling her the family's disgrace. He wanted Lu Fu to finish her off quickly and cleanly. Lu Fu hoisted Xianqing onto his shoulder, dragged Linghu Qingxue, and threw them both into a room. He then lit a torch and tossed it inside, engulfing the entire room in flames. Linghu Qingxue lamented the weakness of her current body. Xianqing on the floor was terrified. Linghu Qingxue reassured him, promising to find a way out. Xianqing fainted. As the house continued to burn, a burning beam collapsed towards Xianqing. At this critical moment, a man appeared out of thin air. He scooped up both Linghu Qingxue and Xianqing, flying out of the burning room. Linghu Qingxue wondered why this man, Yechen, was inside her body. Yechen healed her ankle and demanded her gratitude. After thanking him, Yechen remained unsatisfied. He wanted Linghu Qingxue to give herself to him. Linghu Qingxue thought he must have taken the wrong medicine. Yechen retorted that it was he who was offering himself to her. He declared that she now belonged to him, and that the Sangxiong Xinghe jade was his betrothal gift. They were now engaged. Before Linghu Qingxue could react, Yechen retreated back into her body. She recalled the legends of the Sangxiong Xinghe jade, said to be able to reverse time. Noticing the jade on her arm, she realized it must have brought her here and was the only way back. Seeing Xianqing on the ground, she knew she had to save him first. Everything else could wait. Pondering how they, penniless, could afford a doctor for Xianqing, Linghu Qingxue thought of Lu Fu, the man who tried to burn them alive. Carrying Xianqing, she went to find him. Lu Fu was counting the money and valuables left behind by Linghu Qingxue's grandfather. A chilling gust of wind extinguished the candles. He suddenly found himself paralyzed. The door creaked open. Lu Fu yelled, demanding to know who was there. Linghu Qingxue slowly walked in. Lu Fu was shocked that she was still alive. With a dagger in hand, Linghu Qingxue ended Lu Fu's life with a single stroke. She would make everyone who had hurt her pay the price. Carrying Xianqing, Linghu Qingxue arrived at the Shuangjua Medical Clinic. She asked the attendant, Huiji, for a bed for Xianqing. Huiji informed her that only a VIP room was available and questioned whether she could afford it. Linghu Qingxue placed a 100,000 liang silver note on the table. Seeing so much money, Huiji immediately led her inside. Linghu Qingxue wanted Huiji to arrange the best ward and physician for Xianqing. Unfortunately, at that moment, a pair of soldiers escorted a luxuriously dressed young man into the clinic. The attendant awkwardly suggested they try elsewhere, explaining that Linghu Qingxue had reserved the last room. One of the soldiers offered 10 times the price to have the ward relinquished. Ling Hu Qingxue informed the soldier that she wasn't short of money. The soldier drew his sword, but the nobleman stopped him, forbidding such rudeness. He earnestly pleaded with Ling Hu Qingxue to make an accommodation, explaining that his younger brother was gravely injured. Ling Hu Qingxue suggested they share the room if they didn't mind. After examining Xianqing, the doctor informed Ling Hu Qingxue that he had only suffered superficial wounds and would recover in a few days. The young nobleman, however, was much more seriously injured. A soldier named Wei Qing threatened the doctor, forbidding him to leave until the young nobleman was healed. The nobleman rebuked Wei Qing for his disrespect and ordered him to release the doctor. Bowing deeply, he implored the doctors to do their utmost to heal his brother and expressed his gratitude to Ling Hu Qingxue. Suddenly, a soldier stumbled in, warning the nobleman that their enemies were pursuing them, only to be cut down by masked bandits. Without a word, one of the bandits lunged at Ling Hu Qingxue with his blade. In the nick of time, the nobleman yanked Ling Hu Qingxue out of harm's way and sent the bandit flying with a single palm strike. Scooping up his injured brother, he prepared to leap through the window, urging Ling Hu Qingxue to flee as well before turning and escaping. The nobleman had barely jumped through the window with his brother when Ling Hu Qingxue, also carrying Xianqing, followed suit. The two met unexpectedly outside. Unfortunately, they were spotted by more masked men lying in wait. The nobleman unleashed a surge of yellow battle qi, striking at the ambushers. Seizing the opportunity, he grabbed Ling Hu Qingxue and urged her to run. Based on the nobleman's attack, Ling Hu Qingxue recognized him as an 8th-level battle master. From her knowledge of this world, Ling Hu Qingxue knew she had encountered a rare genius. The nobleman stopped abruptly, sensing they had reached safety. He bid Ling Hu Qingxue farewell, explaining he needed to find a physician for his brother. As he turned to leave, Ling Hu Qingxue stopped him, claiming she could heal his brother. The nobleman paused, imploring Ling Hu Qingxue to save his brother. She led him and his brother to a room at the inn, gently placing the injured youth on the bed. Asking for a dagger, she used her mental power to stem the bleeding. After a tense and hurried procedure, Ling Hu Qingxue successfully completed the surgery, saving the young man's life. He would fully recover with a period of rest. The nobleman introduced himself as Qian Yu and asked for Ling Hu Qingxue's name, expressing his profound gratitude. He then offered her a token, instructing her to seek him out at the Wulong residence in the imperial capital if she ever encountered trouble. After Tianyu's departure, Ling Hu Qingxue began practicing her cultivation techniques while watching over Xianqing. She felt her spiritual power enter a realm of yellow energy. Reaching out, she touched the swirling yellow masses. Suddenly, Oyechen appeared, warning her not to approach the yellow realm. He instructed her to simply call his name while holding the jade pendant, and he would appear. Ling Hu Qingxue demanded to know why. Oyechen embraced her, telling her that if she wanted to know the reason, she should call him husband first. Reluctantly, Ling Hu Qingxue complied. Oyechen then explained that her body was capable of cultivating the 5 elements arts, but she had been poisoned by the spirit-extinguishing grass, preventing her from gathering battle qi. The yellow energy was extremely potent, and he feared she couldn't withstand it. Ling Hu Qingxue questioned him, asking how she could have a 5 elements body if she possessed crippled meridians. Oyechen explained that she was a once-in-a-lifetime cultivation genius. Her extraordinary constitution would be considered exceptional even in the sky-breaking realm. Full of anticipation, Ling Hu Qingxue asked Oyechen how to cure the poison in her body. Oyechen revealed that the spirit-extinguishing grass poison was a congenital affliction. The only way to remove it was to form a pact with the Azure Chung star. Ling Hu Qingxue challenged him, asking why he hadn't formed a pact with the Azure Chung star himself if it was so simple. Oyechen gestured toward his feet. He explained that he was merely a wisp of a soul. Forming a pact with the Azure Chung star required blood, and in his spectral state, he couldn't establish the necessary connection. Realizing her mistake, Ling Hu Qingxue apologized to Oyechen and asked him to teach her how to form the pact. Having already accepted her as his betrothed, Oyechen resolved to help Ling Hu Qingxue forge the connection with the Azure Chung star. With a grand sweep of his hand, Oyechen drew blood from Ling Hu Qingshue's arm. The contract instantly took effect. The Azure Cheong Star River Wall erupted with a powerful spiritual energy. This golden energy surged towards Qingshue's body. Overwhelmed by the influx of energy, Qingxue fainted. Seeing her collapse, Oyechin swiftly caught her in his arms, whispering reassurances that she would be all right. Oyechin then carried Qingxue towards the golden aura. He brought her to the heart of the Azure Cheong Star River Wall, where a breathtaking lotus pond lay hidden. He gently lowered Qingxue into the water, cradling her as she slowly regained consciousness. Seeing the two of them immersed in the lotus pond, Qingxue thought Oyechin had gone mad. He explained that he was purging the poison from her system. To expedite the detoxification, Oyechin instructed Qingxue to remain perfectly still, nestled close in his embrace. Though skeptical and questioning whether he was deceiving her, Qingxue reluctantly agreed for the sake of her health. Oyechin told Qingxue that the lotus pond was the spiritual source of the land, capable of accelerating the absorption and purging of toxins. He promised that if she remained in his arms for the entire night, she would be reborn by morning. After an entire night in the pond, Oyechin still held Qingxue close. She questioned how much longer he intended to hold her. He chuckled, remarking on how quickly the little wildcat could turn. Another bright morning dawned. Qianqing slowly awoke, rubbing his eyes and calling out for his sister. He sat up in bed and, upon seeing Qingxue approaching, burst into tears, convinced they had died together. Qingxue reassured him that they were both very much alive and asked what he wanted to eat. Qianqing requested meat buns, and Qingxue, taking his hand, led him out the door to buy some. At the restaurant, Qingxue overheard a conversation about where to find fairly priced treasures. She deduced that the bull market they spoke of was the local black market. She decided to go there in search of Guanyao, medicinal pills, to purge the remaining poison from Qianqing's body. Donning masks, Qingxue and Qianqing ventured into the bustling black market. Upon arrival, they witnessed a group of men harassing an elderly woman, demanding protection money. The old woman challenged them, pointing out that her name wasn't written on the ground, so why should she pay? Infuriated, the men advanced to strike her. Qingxue shouted for them to stop. They warned her to get lost or suffer the same fate. The old woman cursed them as animals. Qingxue quipped that calling them animals was an insult to animals. The men surged forward, threatening to skin Qingxue alive. Facing the onslaught, Qingxue scoffed, "Mere 8th-level battle masters, and you dare act so brazenly?" With that, she summoned her weapon. A single wave of her hand sent them sprawling. She ordered them to leave, and they scrambled away, eager to escape, helping the old woman to sit and rest. Qingxue noticed a bronze cauldron before her. The old woman asked if Qingxue recognized it. Qingxue guessed it was a cauldron for refining medicine. The old woman excitedly grasped Qingxue's hand, relieved to have finally found someone worthy. She offered the cauldron to Qingxue. Sensing multiple elements within Qingxue, the old woman inquired if she wished to become an alchemist. Qingxue, realizing she could create medicine to cure Qianqing, eagerly agreed. The old woman formally presented the cauldron to Qingxue, revealing its name, the Zichen Cauldron. Along with the cauldron came a request. Before she could finish, the old woman was seized by a coughing fit and collapsed backward. Qingxue caught her, gently inquiring about her condition and offering to take her to a medical clinic. The old woman stopped her, aware of her own failing health. She began to tell a story. 90 years ago, her mother, Yin Tianqiu, met a man from the Forbidden Zone named Li Fei. They fell in love, exchanging the Zichen Cauldron as a token of their affection. Then, one day, Li Fei vanished, leaving behind only the words, "Wait for me." Because Yin Tianqiu and Li Fei were never formally married, yet Yin Tianqiu became pregnant, she was executed by her clan after giving birth. The old woman was raised by a wet nurse who revealed the truth to her when she came of age. Clutching Qingxue's hand, the old woman revealed that Li Fei was in the Forbidden Zone. She had been searching for him, but her health was failing. She implored Qingxue, if she ever had the chance to enter the Forbidden Zone, to find Li Fei and kill him. The elderly woman asked Linghu Qingxue to inquire of Li Fei, before his death if he still remembered a woman named Tian Shou and why he had left and never returned. After listening to the elderly woman's poignant tale, Qing Shue agreed to her request. Having shared her story, the elderly woman died in Qing Shue's arms. As the moon climbed high in the sky, Qing Shue returned to the inn and took out the Zichen cauldron. She pricked her finger, letting a drop of blood fall into the cauldron. The Zichen cauldron immediately began to emanate a dazzling light. A bird flew out from the cauldron, landing gracefully on its rim. It spoke, "Yunk greets master." Yunk explained that it was the guardian spirit of the Zichen cauldron, and that within its being, the Nine Heavens' great god had stored a vast library of alchemical formulas, ready to serve Qing Shue. Thinking that Xian Qing might now be saved, Qing Shue gently stroked Yunk's head and asked it to search for a formula to counteract the Miel Ling Chao's congenital poison. Yunk quickly provided a formula for a pill called the Gui Ling Dan. Qing Shue felt a pang of difficulty. The Gui Ling Dan required the skills of an alchemist to create a level of expertise she hadn't yet attained. Alchemists were exceedingly rare in this world. Even the most basic alchemist apprentice could only refine medicinal liquids. Only true alchemists could refine pills. The rank of an alchemist was determined by the color of the pills they could create. Qing Shue asked Yunk for some formulas for potent medicinal liquids. Taking the formulas, she entered the Azure Chong Star River Wall to begin refining. Sensing Qing Shue's arrival, O Yechen hurried to meet her, carrying a handful of lotus flowers he intended to give her. Seeing Qing Shue's promising progress in alchemy, he sincerely praised her as a genius. Qing Shue, however, found O Yechen's presence irritating and urged him to leave, as she had important work to do. O Yechen, mistaking her impatience for shyness at being alone with him, departed. Qing Shue made her way to Lanling Tianfang, the largest auction house in the northern Ming Empire. The entrance bustled with a vibrant crowd. A shop assistant inquired which auction Qing Shue was attending. She replied that she wasn't there for an auction, but to see the establishment's manager. She produced a vial of the refined medicinal liquid and asked the assistant to take it to the manager, explaining that she was there to discuss business. The assistant, after catching a whiff of the contents, quickly ushered Qing Shue inside. Inside, Cheng Fei, the manager of Lanling Tianfang's Northern Exine City branch, personally came out to speak with Qing Shue. He inquired whether she intended to auction the medicinal liquid or sell it directly to Lanling Tianfang. Qing Shue expressed her desire to auction it. Cheng Fei informed Qing Shue that Lanling Tianfang would take a 30% commission on the final auction price. Alchemists being so rare in this world, Cheng Fei treated Qing Shue with considerable respect. He presented her with a VIP pass engraved with the character Lan, granting her access to the auction. He explained that the pass would allow her to enter the auction hall directly, bypassing the queue. He also informed her that the auction for her medicinal liquid would take place in 7 days. Qing Shue thanked him and took her leave. News of the upcoming auction of the potent medicinal liquid quickly spread, attracting significant attention. Linghu Yameng, upon hearing the news, urged her father to acquire the liquid for her. Her father instructed her to join the queue, promising to arrive shortly with the necessary funds. 7 days later, Qing Shue arrived at Lanling Tianfang to find a long queue of people waiting to enter. She moved through the crowd, heading directly towards the auction hall entrance. A voice called out, ordering her to go to the back of the line. Qing Shue turned to see that it was Linghu Yameng. Ignoring her, Qing Shue continued forward. Seeing Qing Shue's disregard, Linghu Yameng lashed out with her whip. Hearing the whip crack behind her, Qing Shue pivoted on her toes. Her battle chi materialized, striking towards Yameng with a whoosh, wrapping around Yuming's leg and pulling her to the ground. Qing Shue then swiftly kicked Yameng, sending her sprawling. Yameng, stunned, lay on the ground, fuming. Yameng scrambled to her feet, enraged, and vowed to kill Qing Shue. Qing Shue picked up Yuming's whip, offering to return it. As she swung the whip towards Yameng, a voice boomed from behind, ordering her to stop. It was Linghu Yuming's father, who had arrived to see his daughter lying on the ground. Distressed, he shouted for Qing Shue to cease. Seeing her father, Yameng demanded that he kill Qing Xue to avenge her. Ling Hu Hao, Yuming's father, told Qing Xue that he would discipline his own daughter and that she needn't interfere. Seeing Ling Hu Hao's contemptible expression, Qing Xue retorted that anyone could intervene in matters of injustice. Yameng had acted first, so was Ling Hu Hao intending to intimidate her? Yameng urged her father to ignore Qing Xue, claiming she was merely upholding order and objecting to Qing Xue's disregard for the rules. After listening to his daughter, Ling Hu Hao prepared to attack Qing Xue. He unleashed his fire power, which Qing Xue countered with her own water spirit power. The two forces clashed, locked in a fierce struggle. But Qing Xue's power was no match for Ling Hu Hao's. She staggered, battered by his attacks. Ling Hu Hao mocked her for overestimating herself. He offered to spare her if she apologized now. Battle Qi continued to swirl around Ling Hu Hao's hands, ready to unleash another attack. Just then, a surge of energy struck him, exploding with a resounding boom. It was Cheng Fei, arriving to meet Qing Xue. Because Qing Xue had given Cheng Fei the alias Tea Master, he addressed her as such. Only then did Ling Hu Hao realize that the woman he was fighting was the renowned Tea Master. Ling Hu Hao shielded his daughter behind him. Yameng was shocked. She had provoked the Tea Master. Ling Hu Hao urged Yameng to apologize immediately. Qing Xue dismissed the need for an apology, declaring that from now on, none of her refined pills would be sold to the Ling Hu family. Following Qing Xue's instructions, Cheng Fei placed a restricting spell on Ling Hu Hao and his daughter. Ling Hu Hao berated Yameng, calling her a good-for-nothing who only caused trouble. Meanwhile, Xian Qing was practicing calligraphy in his room. Clutching her chest, Qing Xue stumbled into the room. Seeing his sister struggling to stand, Xian Qing rushed to support her and asked what had happened. Qing Xue insisted she was fine and just needed to rest, asking not to be disturbed. Xian Qing assured her he understood and left the room. Qing Xue quickly gathered her spirit and entered the Azurchung Star River Wall. Seeing Qing Xue swaying precariously, Oyechen rushed to catch her, asking what was wrong. Qing Xue told him she was injured and asked him not to disturb her. With that, Qing Xue coughed up blood and fainted. Looking at the person in his arms, Oyechen immediately began to heal her. As long as he was there, Qing Xue would be all right. Oyechen's treatment mended Qing Xue's meridians, but she remained unconscious. He realized she had developed a fever from being in the cold water. Hearing her murmur, "So cold," Oyechen quickly lifted Qing Xue and carried her from the lotus pond to her room, laying her gently on the bed. Seeing her drenched clothes, Oyechen decided to change her clothes. It was the first time he had ever changed a woman's clothes, and he felt rather embarrassed. Qing Xue's face was flushed with fever, leaving him no choice but to proceed. He carefully removed her outer garment, tossing it aside. Qing Xue's delicate shoulders were exposed. Then he reached for the inner layer. Suddenly, Qing Xue grabbed his wrist and pulled him closer. Oyechen landed beside her in a compromising position. Qing Xue nuzzled against Oyechen's chest like a puppy, pinning him beneath her. Looking at this alluring little minx, Oyechen decided to let her be for now. Oyechen sat quietly by Qing Xue's bedside, watching her adorably fumble with the pillow and sheets. Oyechen asked Qing Xue to be patient while he fetched some fever medicine. After preparing the medicine, he brought it to her bedside, ready to help her drink it. He brought the medicine to her lips, but he couldn't get her to swallow. Gently, he stroked her mouth, coaxing it open little by little, and slowly poured the medicine in. Finally, under Oyechen's care, Qing Xue awoke. She slowly opened her eyes, disoriented. Seeing her awake, Oyechen's worried heart finally eased. He touched her forehead with the back of his hand, relieved to find her fever had broken. He then gently stroked her hair, making her blush. With a slap, Qing Xue pushed his hand away. They weren't that close, she thought. Oyechen reminded her of how she had clung to him like a koala the previous night. Flustered, Qing Xue feigned a headache to hide her embarrassment. She told Oyechen she needed to find a doctor and thanked him for healing her injuries. Oyechen found her gratitude perfunctory. Qing Xue retorted, "What more do you want?" He took her wrist, and she realized the clothes she was wearing weren't hers. She immediately demanded to know if he had changed her clothes, grabbing his neck and asking what he had done to her. Oyechen caught Qing Xue's other hand and asked if she was trying to murder her own husband. He admitted to changing her clothes. Qing Xue furiously cursed him for his shamelessness. Oyechen gently pressed on her shoulders, urging her to put the matter aside for now. He wanted to know who had injured her. Qing Shue seethed, spitting out Ling Hu Hao's name. Yechen declared he could kill Ling Hu Hao for her to avenge her injuries. Qing Shue insisted that she had to personally confront her enemy to quell the hatred in her heart and repay the pain she had suffered tenfold. Holding the medicine bowl, Yechen softly coaxed Qing Shue to drink. She agreed she would. He then asked if she was afraid of him. Qing Shue simply wasn't used to having someone like him around. Yechen, mistaking her discomfort for disdain at his rough nature, bid her a somber farewell, telling her to rest well, and departed. Qing Shue knew Xianqing was waiting for her outside and needed to leave quickly. Yechen, assuming she was making excuses to avoid him, stormed off in a huff. He added that he would be in seclusion and she wasn't to disturb him. Qing Shue thought she must be delirious from the fever. Yechen wouldn't really be angry. Back at the inn, Xianqing saw his sister emerge from her room and rushed forward, anxiously inquiring about her health. Qing Shue reassured him she was fine. She also mentioned that she would be going to Lanling, Tianfang in a couple of days to retrieve the 1,000-year snow lotus. With the snow lotus, she could refine the Gillen pill. Xianqing couldn't believe it and asked her to confirm. Qing Shue affirmed her confidence in her success. Then, no one would ever call them waste meridians again. 3 days later, Qing Shue finally finished refining the Gillen pill. Xianqing, gazing at the yellow pill his sister had created, joyfully declared that she was now a true alchemist. Qing Shue urged Xianqing to take the pill immediately. Once the poison was purged, they could return home together. After swallowing the Gillen pill, Xianqing didn't feel any change in his body, nor did his battle chi condense. Xianqing was deeply disappointed. Perhaps he truly was a waste meridian. Qing Shue felt something must be wrong and decided to consult Yunk. Yunk was summoned. Qing Shue learned that Xianqing's elemental energy might have been suppressed for too long, making it difficult to awaken immediately. However, they could try the Shishui pill to alter his constitution. In the following days, Qing Shue diligently cultivated, striving to improve her alchemy skills. In just 6 months, she became a renowned alchemist throughout northern Exine City. Qing Shue also organized a youth martial arts tournament in the city, offering pills to the victors. A determined young woman caught her attention. Qing Shue felt this girl could be of use to her. She brought the girl from the arena to Peach Garden residence and fed her a pill. The girl slowly opened her eyes and asked where she was. Xianqing informed her that she was in Qing Shue's new residence, and that Qing Shue had saved her from the arena. The girl cried out that she needed to return to the tournament, as her brother needed the pill to survive. She started to rush out. Upon learning that the tournament was over, and believing she couldn't save her brother, she declared she might as well die with him. Qing Shue yelled for her to stop, blocking her path and pushing her back onto the bed. She reasoned with the girl, urging her to find a solution instead of giving up. What good would dying do? The girl explained that her brother had been gravely injured saving her. She was consumed by guilt, blaming her own weakness. Qing Shue handed her a bottle of pills, instructing her to use them to save her brother. Seeing the pills she desperately needed, the girl kowtowed to Qing Shue in gratitude, revealing her name to be Anu. Qing Shue knew that to gain a foothold in this continent, she needed her own power base. She continued to cultivate diligently, striving to improve her cultivation and hoping to advance to level 3 Battlemaster soon. At a crucial moment in her cultivation, Qing Shue suddenly felt her mental energy under attack. Painful memories assaulted her mind. She knew she had to become stronger to take revenge. Under the onslaught of these memories, Qing Shue finally broke through, successfully advancing in her cultivation. She could now refine the Shishui pill. Entering the Azure Qilong Star River Wall, she sensed that the space within was expanding along with her growing power. Looking at the octagonal tower in the distance, Qing Shue realized she hadn't seen Yechen in a long time. He had been in seclusion for over 6 months. Why was she suddenly thinking of him? Better not to bother him. Qing Shue summoned Yunk. She was ready to begin refining the Shishui pill and asked Yunk to protect her. Summoning her 3 true flames, she began the alchemical process. As the refining process progressed, the golden aura of the Danyao, the alchemical pill, wreathed Qing Shue. She had finally refined the water absorption pill and ascended to the rank of top alchemist. Finally, she could change Xianqing's constitution. In seclusion, Oyechin sensed Qingshue's aura. He felt she had made great progress. In time, he would be able to restore his spirit form and see her. He no longer wanted to run, no longer wanted to leave her. Qianqing was painting at home when Qingxue walked in, telling him she had a surprise. She placed a refined water absorption pill directly into his mouth. Qianqing felt a surge of energy coursing through him, a painful, relentless Chongji. Watching him writhe on the bed in agony, Qingshue's heart ached. Qingxue knew she couldn't give up now. Only the water absorption pill's transformative properties could grant Qianqing a spirit channel. Witnessing his pain, she swore to find whoever had poisoned him and tear them to pieces. Qingxue helped Qianqing sit up, using her own spiritual energy to clear his meridians. After half an hour, his pain finally subsided, and he felt the change within him. He was a fire spirit body, a phenomenon seen only once in 1,000 years. Qingxue explained to Qianqing that the fire element within him was pure and singular, capable of incinerating anything in the world. From this day forward, neither of them would be considered to have useless meridians. Qianqing declared his intention to cultivate diligently and increase his strength quickly. Suddenly, Putong announced that someone sought an audience. Qingxue hurried to the front hall and found Anu, pulling her brother along, there to express their gratitude. Qingxue urged them to rise, telling them there was no need for such formality. Qingxue then realized Anu's brother, Axing, couldn't hear. Anu explained that he hadn't always been deaf. Both orphans, they had grown up in a circus, living under the cruel whip of their abusive ringmaster. Axing had lost his hearing after being beaten for protecting Anu. They couldn't afford treatment, and his deafness became permanent. As Anu grew older, the ringmaster's perverse desires turned towards her. Axing, again trying to protect her, was severely injured. This led to Anu's desperate attempt to earn money through fighting in the arena. Anu and Axing pleaded with Qingxue to take them in, vowing to serve her faithfully. Having been an orphan herself in her past life, Qingxue felt a pang of compassion for their plight. Taking Anu's hand, Qingxue asked to be taken to the ringmaster. Anu, knowing the ringmaster's strength, he was nearing the level of a level 3 battle master, worried for Qingshue's safety. Qingxue reassured Anu, claiming she had a way to deal with him. She promised to return and heal Axing after the ringmaster was gone. They arrived at the circus to find the ringmaster abusing the animals. Qingshue's arrival interrupted his cruelty. The ringmaster, seeing a beautiful young woman, felt a surge of lust. Then, noticing Anu behind her, he lashed out with his whip. Axing shielded Anu, but Qingxue intercepted the whip. Seeing her unexpected strength, the ringmaster attacked her with his battle chi. With lightning speed, Qingxue dodged his attack and landed several stinging slaps across his face. The ringmaster, completely outmatched, crumpled to the ground, begging for mercy. Qingxue said nothing, but released the abused circus animals. The ringmaster, watching them approach, was consumed by terror. Lifting the ringmaster's head, Qingxue used her chi to extract his eardrums and place them in Axing's ears. Instantly, Axing could hear again. Anu and Axing knelt, kowtowing in gratitude, swearing their eternal loyalty to Qingxue. She urged them to remember their words. Qingxue gave Axing a pill to enhance his abilities, expecting him to reach the level of a level 3 battle master within a month. She planned to return to the Gu Kingdom with Anu. The time had come, she knew, to settle the score with those who had wronged her. She left the ringmaster to Anu and Axing's judgment. Surrounded by the animals, he had no chance of survival. He would never bully the weak again. Arriving at the Ningwa Duke's mansion, Anu approached the gate. The snobbish gatekeepers sneered, telling her to leave and to know her place. Anu told them to look closely at who had returned. Recognizing Qingxue and Qianqing, the servants began to mock them, directing them to the back entrance. Unwilling to waste words, Qingxue instructed Anu to teach them a lesson. Within moments, Anu had them sprawled on the ground. The servants groveled, begging for forgiveness. Qingxue, ignoring their pleas, led Qianqing towards their courtyard. The servants within the Ningwa Duke's mansion were all abuzz. Weren't Qingxue and Qianqing supposed to be dead? How had they returned? One servant hurried off to inform Yumeng and Qiluo of the news. Arriving at the west courtyard, Qingxue gazed at the dilapidated structure with a sigh. Who would have thought, she mused, that such a ruined courtyard was once the residence of Linghu Kong? Ling Hukong had even been a level 8 battle master. Qing Xue swore she would avenge this bitter feud. 6 years ago, Ling Hukong had been ambushed, crippled, and driven to suicide. Her mother had followed him in death. Qing Xue instructed Anu to find some people to clean the west courtyard. Then, taking Xian Qing's hand, she prepared to enter. Just then, Yameng and Qiluo, having received the news, arrived. Seeing the two, Qing Xue and Xian Qing braced themselves for a confrontation. Yameng, still haughty as ever, demanded they pay their respects. Xian Qing retorted, "You two ugly freaks. Don't even think about bullying us again." Yameng and Qiluo stared at him in disbelief, demanding he repeat himself. Xian Qing loudly called them ugly freaks again. Enraged, Yameng cursed Xian Qing as a bastard and lunged at him. Qing Xue intercepted Yuming's attack, seizing her wrist and snapping it with a sickening crack. Seeing Yameng injured, Qiluo threatened them, declaring that their father wouldn't let them get away with this. Qing Xue informed Qiluo that she was no longer the helpless cripple they had bullied 6 months ago. Unwilling to accept defeat, Yameng activated her battle aura and attacked Qing Xue. Qing Xue, regarding Yuming's level 5 battle master strength with disdain, effortlessly dispelled her attack with a flick of her wrist. Yameng and Qiluo gaped in astonishment. How could a supposed cripple overpower Yameng? They suspected Qing Xue of using dark magic. The two of them attacked Qing Xue together. Qiluo, a level 7 battle master, proved equally ineffective. Without even lifting a finger, Qing Xue neutralized her attack. At that moment, Anu returned, scoffing that the two weren't even worthy of Qing Xue's direct attention. Furious, Yameng swore she wouldn't rest until Qing Xue was dead. Qing Xue tossed Anu a vial of pills, telling her to cut loose and fight without restraint. Anu, however, declared that she didn't need pills to deal with such weaklings. Seeing Qing Xue's casual dismissal of the pills, Qiluo knew they couldn't let her live. Yameng and Qiluo launched a combined assault, and Anu rushed forward to meet them. Even 2 against 1, they couldn't gain the upper hand. They were baffled that even Qing Xue's maid was so powerful. Qing Xue instructed Anu to toy with them. Anu, using her battle aura, lifted the two into the air and spun them relentlessly. Even then, they continued to curse Qing Xue and beg to be let down. At Qing Xue's signal, Anu slammed them both onto the ground. Realizing they were outmatched, the two scrambled to escape. But Qing Xue wasn't about to let them off so easily. Gasping for breath, they ran as far as they could, hoping to find a hiding place. Suddenly, Anu appeared before them again, twin blades glinting in her hands. With a powerful swing, she shattered a large boulder beside them. The fragments of stone hurtled towards them. As they tried to flee, Qing Xue struck their ankles with small pebbles, sending them sprawling to the ground. Qing Xue told them they wouldn't escape today. They would pay for what they had done. Yameng and Qiluo threatened her, saying that killing members of the Jiqing family was a grave offense. If she killed them, she would be executed. Qing Xue retorted, "Did you consider we were family when you tried to kill Xian Qing and me?" With that, she swung her blade towards them. Just as it was about to connect, a surge of battle aura stopped her attack. Qing Xue felt a wave of battle aura wash over her. With a resounding boom, she was thrown back. She saw a figure approaching slowly. It was Ling Hu Lai, Qiluo's father. He helped Yameng and Qiluo to their feet, asking if they were all right. Seeing their protector arrive, they immediately began to complain about Qing Xue. Ling Hu Lai shielded them, roaring at Qing Xue, "Do you have a death wish? How dare you injure my daughter?" He accused Qing Xue of disrespecting her elders and attempting to murder her older sisters. He declared he would punish her in her father's stead. Qing Xue, refusing to listen to his twisted accusations, grabbed Ling Hu Lai by the throat and berated him for his ignorance and arrogance. Ling Hu Lai threw off Qing Xue's hand and moved to kill her. Xian Qing and Anu shielded her with their bodies. Ling Hu Lai threatened to kill all 3 of them. Ling Hu Lai, possessing a fire spirit body, unleashed his fiery power against the trio. Knowing she was no match for him, Qing Xue quickly retrieved a pill to enhance her own strength. Qing Xue, pulling Xian Qing and Anu along with her, dodged Ling Hu Lai's fiery dragon attack. Ling Hu Lai, determined not to let them escape, pursued them relentlessly. Just then, within Qing Xue's body, the Zhangqiang star underwent a sudden transformation. A surge of energy erupted outwards. Immediately following, a wave of battle chi shot towards Ling Hu Lai, knocking him to the ground. It was O Yechen, who had emerged from his seclusion. At this critical juncture, O Yechen had attacked Ling Hulai. But Qingxue knew that O Yechen existed in a spiritual form and couldn't use his powers during the day. She worried about him. To ascertain his condition, Qingxue needed to enter the Zhangqiong Star River Wall. First, she had to return to the West Courtyard. Back at the West Courtyard, Qingxue found a secluded and quiet spot and entered the Zhangqiong Star River Wall. She rushed to the octagonal tower, calling out O Yechen's name, but there was no response. Qingxue was deeply worried. She didn't understand why O Yechen hadn't answered. Could he be gone? But recalling O Yechen's power, she felt a flicker of reassurance. Qingxue continued searching within the Star River Wall and finally found O Yechen by the Lotus Pond. Seeing him unharmed, Qingxue's heart eased. She thanked him for his intervention. O Yechen brushed off her gratitude, saying it was nothing. He and the Star River Wall were one. Since Qingxue had formed a pact with the Star River Wall, protecting her was only natural. Qingxue was puzzled by O Yechen's unusual behavior. He kept his back to her, never once turning to face her. He seemed eager to send her away, his words curt and dismissive. Sensing O Yechen's coldness, Qingxue guessed that he had only helped her to protect his own sanctuary within the wall. She abruptly turned to leave, feeling foolish for her concern. As soon as Qingxue left, O Yechen could no longer maintain his facade. He collapsed to the ground. He hadn't acted recklessly to save Qingxue to earn her gratitude. He had never desired her thanks. All he wanted was her safety. His cold demeanor was merely a ploy to make her leave quickly, to hide his own grave injuries. Qingxue, having just regained consciousness, received a message from Anu. The Duke of Ningwa had summoned her and Xianqing to the main hall. Quickly piecing together the relationships, she realized the Duke of Ningwa was her doting grandfather, Ling Huba. She and Xianqing proceeded to the Duke's mansion to pay their respects. Ling Huba was astonished to see her. Qingxue seized the opportunity to act spoiled and recount their supposed ordeal. 6 months prior, a sudden fire had engulfed the Lu Yun Manor. Ling Huba had believed both she and her brother had perished in the flames. Now that they had returned alive, Ling Huba was determined to protect them. The venomous Yameng and Qilua watched their grandfather embrace Qingxue, their hearts burning with resentment as they plotted their next move. With tears streaming down her face, Qilua demanded that Ling Huba intervene on their behalf, accusing Qingxue of nearly killing them and severely injuring their father. Yameng joined in the charade, begging their grandfather to seek justice. Their pleas were met with a furious outburst from their grandfather. How could his delicate granddaughters possibly inflict such harm? He comforted Qingxue, assuring her of his unwavering support. Hearing these words, Qingxue felt tears welling up involuntarily. Realizing she was crying, she suspected it was the original Qingxue's emotional response. It seemed the original Qingxue had finally released her pent-up grievances. From now on, she would take her place and care for their grandfather. The original Qingxue, hearing this promise, seemed to find peace. With tears streaming down her face, she apologized. The three shared a moment of heartwarming reconciliation. The tender moment lasted barely 2.5 minutes. Yameng then accused Qingxue of wanting to kill them all, claiming the entire family could testify. As the second most talented member of the family, she had every reason to suspect that the useless Qingxue had cultivated forbidden techniques while she was away. Qilua chimed in, adding that there was no other explanation for how a talentless waste could suddenly become so powerful. Fortunately, their grandfather possessed sound judgment. If these malicious sisters dared to insult his beloved granddaughter openly, they must have tormented her relentlessly behind closed doors. Qingxue stepped forward and assured Ling Huba that she would never do anything to disappoint him. As a protective grandfather, he naturally trusted his beloved granddaughter without reservation. Qilua, still unwilling to give up, insisted that even with their grandfather's support, cultivating forbidden techniques would earn Qingxue universal condemnation. All they needed to do was prove she had used forbidden techniques, and their grandfather would abandon her. Qilua dramatically dropped to her knees, wailing loudly. She implored her grandfather not to believe Qingxue's lies. After all, if Qingxue hadn't used forbidden techniques, how could she have defeated their father? Ling Huba slammed his fist on the table, declaring that his granddaughter had not used forbidden techniques. The force of his blow cracked the table. He successfully intimidated the venomous Yameng and Chiloa. Frightened, the two sisters knelt on the ground, trembling uncontrollably. Ling Huba immediately decided to drop the matter and warned everyone present not to speak ill of his precious granddaughter again. Although Yameng and Chiloa were deeply unwilling, they couldn't withstand their grandfather's authority and had to agree. Ling Huba then announced that the following day was Qing Xue's birthday and that everyone in the Ningwa Duke's mansion, except for the servants at the Butterfly Pavilion and the courtesans, must attend. Qing Xue knew that Ling Huba had always been good to the original Qing Xue, but she hadn't expected him to be this good. After dismissing the others, Ling Huba called Xian Qing aside. You want to know why Xian Qing hadn't brought the original Qing Xue home after the cloth shop fire? Xian Qing immediately explained that the fire hadn't been an accident. Ling Huba had already suspected as much, but without concrete evidence, it remained just a suspicion. He had inspected the scene himself, and his subordinates had discovered that the cloth shop's doors had been locked from the outside when the fire broke out. The cloth shop manager, Manager Liu, had also died in a fire at his home after the incident. Manager Liu was the most suspicious, but his death only deepened the mystery. Ling Huba had ordered his subordinates to continue the investigation. Now that Qing Xue was alive, he hoped to learn the truth about the fire from her. But Qing Xue wanted to take revenge herself. After all, accusing Yameng and Chiloa without proof would only put her grandfather in a difficult position. Hearing this, Ling Huba felt a surge of pride and agreed to let her handle matter. Watching her leave, he sighed with relief. His Qing Xue had finally come into her own. A child as good as her deserved a wider world to achieve great things. Back at the West Courtyard, Qing Xue immediately praised Anu, reminding her never to show mercy to her enemies. Anu clasped her hands in a fist, vowing to become a sharp weapon in Qing Xue's hands. Just then, Yin suddenly arrived with a report. Something seemed amiss with Yechen, and she urged Qing Xue to go and see him as soon as possible. Upon hearing the news, Qing Xue immediately rushed to the Zhangqiang Star River Wall. By the time she arrived, Yechen's spirit had become slightly translucent. She worried he might dissipate entirely. Yin explained that she had smelled the scent of a burning soul, which led her to Yechen. Qing Xue instantly recalled Yechen's coldness toward her that day and realized he must have already been gravely injured. She ordered Yin to quickly find a way to save him. They learned that a soul restoration pill could heal him, though the recipe was rather unusual. Yechen had saved her multiple times, and now it was her turn to repay the favor. She journeyed to the Lanling Heavenly Square to retrieve the two missing ingredients. With those, she now had all the necessary components. To refine the pill before midnight, she had to return to the Peach Garden residence. She told A Xing that she had important work to do and mustn't be disturbed, then hurried into her room. Yin reminded her that the refining process required blood as a catalyst, but there were no living creatures within the Zhangqiang Star River Wall. Qing Xue had already planned to enter the wall with her physical body. This mission had to succeed. Qing Xue attempted to enter the Zhangqiang Star River Wall with her physical body. A whirlwind greeted her at the entrance. She forced her way through, but the wind injured her, sending her tumbling to the ground. She quickly recovered. Yechen's life was at stake. Wiping the blood from her lip, she vowed to enter the Zhangqiang Star River Wall that day. Focusing her energy, she finally found a weakness in the whirlwind and entered the Zhangqiang Star River Wall. Yun immediately congratulated her on becoming the first person to enter the inner world. Qing Xue felt there was nothing to congratulate. After all, both Yun and Yechen resided within. She just wanted to refine the pill quickly. But Yun explained that she was a spirit and Yechen a soul. Only Qing Xue had entered the Zhangqiang Star River Wall as a living being. As the first sentient life within the Star River Wall, she was destined to be its master. While Qing Xue liked the sound of that, saving Yechen was her priority. She then instructed Yin to accompany her to the octagonal tower. Yechen had already been placed on a bed. Seeing him unconscious, she knew he would have to endure a little longer while she refined the medicine. She immediately sat down and began to circulate her energy. Clouds and mist swirled around her. The cauldron suddenly opened. Yin alerted her that the time was right. She asked Yin for a dagger, intending to use her own blood. To her surprise, the mere fragrance of the medicine was enough to soothe Yechen's spirit and rouse him from his unconscious state. Seeing Linghu Qingxue cutting her wrist and letting her blood flow, he understood everything. He hadn't been able to keep it from her after all. In that moment, he realized she did care for him. When the Zichen cauldron opened again, it signified the soul restoration pill was complete. Linghu Qingxue was overjoyed with its successful refinement and immediately prepared to administer it to Yechen. However, as she offered the pill, he unexpectedly enclosed her hand in his. A blush crept up her cheeks. Even unconscious, he was audacious. Fortunately, the soul restoration pill worked, and Yechen stirred back to consciousness. The air thickened with sudden awkwardness. Linghu Qingxue quickly explained that she had only given him the pill, nothing more. Yechen's lips curved into a knowing smile. Though he said nothing, his expression spoke volumes. With Yechen awake, Linghu Qingxue prepared to leave. After all, her grandfather had prepared a birthday feast for her. Yechen, however, cautioned her that his recovery would be slow and urged her to be careful. She advised him to rest and recuperate, then departed. Meanwhile, her venomous sisters, Yameng and Chilua, gossiping about Linghu Qingxue. A useless waste who can't even gather chi dares to put on such a grand display, they sneered. Their words were abruptly cut short by Meng Lin, who scolded them for their lack of discretion. As Linghu Qingxue greeted guests bearing gifts, she was relieved to have made it back in time for the feast. Meng Lin and Sima Yu entered with the venomous sisters in tow, bearing a gift for Linghu Qingxue. With practiced grace, Linghu Qingxue bowed to them. This was a moment she had long awaited. Sima Yu presented the gift box, explaining it contained the finest jade bracelet from Taobao, specially chosen for her. Looking at the bracelet within, Linghu Qingxue offered chillingly polite thanks, claiming to adore it. The next instant, she tossed the box aside as if it were trash. Linghu Yameng, seeing this, was the first to take offense, believing Linghu Qingxue was deliberately insulting them. Unafraid, Linghu Yameng demanded to know the meaning of such disrespect. Hiding behind Sima Yu, she declared the bracelet was wasted on Linghu Qingxue. Linghu Qingxue, showing no regard for the mother and daughter, then struck Yameng on the head with the bracelet. The jade shattered into pieces upon impact. This was the final straw for Sima Yu. Accusing Linghu Qingxue of going too far, she raised her hand to strike. Linghu Qingxue didn't flinch. Suddenly, Linghu Ba appeared, halting Sima Yu's attack. He demanded to know what was happening. Sima Yu and her daughter immediately began to complain, accusing Linghu Qingxue of being disrespectful and insolent. Linghu Ba sensed something was amiss. He insisted that Sima Yu shouldn't resort to violence before the matter was investigated. Linghu Qingxue, calm amidst the chaos, picked up a shard of the broken bracelet with her chopsticks. She dropped the jade shard into a bowl of clear water she had prepared and offered it to Sima Yu. If Sima Yu wanted an apology, she should drink the water first. Sima Yu demanded to know if Linghu Qingxue had any respect for her elders, daring to offer her dirty water. Seeing her reluctance, Linghu Qingxue didn't press the issue. Instead, she instructed Anu to bring a chicken. Within moments, Anu returned with a chicken. As she prepared to give the chicken the water, Sima Yu stopped her. Fearing trickery, Sima Yu ordered Linghu Qilua to administer the water instead. The chicken, after drinking the water in which the jade had been soaked, coughed up blood and died on the spot. This enraged Linghu Ba. He turned to Sima Yu, demanding an explanation. Sima Yu, sweating profusely, denied poisoning the bracelet, claiming she wouldn't choose such a time to harm Linghu Qingxue. Linghu Qingxue immediately retorted, if she was innocent, why wouldn't she drink the water? Sima Yu, losing her composure, accused Linghu Qingxue of trying to poison her. Linghu Qingxue scoffed, accusing Sima Yu of playing the victim. After all, everyone had seen Sima Yu present the bracelet. If she hadn't been sensitive to the scent of the poison, she would have already succumbed to its effects. Suddenly, Linghu Yameng drew her sword and charged, screaming threats. Linghu Yameng was swiftly struck and sent flying. She landed on the ground, clutching her stomach, blood trickling from her lips. Linghu Ba pulled Linghu Qingxue protectively behind him. He couldn't believe Linghu Yuming's audacity, showing such blatant disrespect. He turned to Linghu Hao, demanding he control his daughter and wife. Ling Hu Hao immediately dropped to his knees, promising to discipline his wife and daughter. Ling Hu Ba, however, was unsatisfied. It was a little late for discipline now. He turned and granted admission to Huanan Academy to Ling Hu Qingxue and Ling Hu Qiluo. Qingxue was stunned. She hadn't expected her grandfather, Ling Hu Ba, to give her the place originally intended for Ling Hu Yumeng. Yumeng was now drenched in a cold sweat. He immediately apologized to Ling Hu Ba, hoping for another chance. But the old man's mind was made up. He refused to waste any more breath on him. Ling Hu Lai didn't let Yumeng off the hook either. He loudly declared that after the banquet, he would take Qiluo to choose a fine sword. Yumeng nearly ground his teeth to dust. The venomous sisters' bond seemed to have shattered. Qiluo effortlessly secured her place at Huanan Academy, no longer concerned with sisterly affection. Yumeng, feeling the injustice keenly, cursed Ling Hu Ba for his senility. This outburst enraged Ling Hu Ba. He immediately ordered his men to drag Yumeng away and give him 40 lashes. As he was being hauled off, Yumeng screamed the names of Qiluo and Qingxue, promising retribution. Qingxue ignored him, offering Ling Hu Ba a cup of tea and urging him to be happy. The old man's mood brightened considerably, ready to celebrate Qingxue's birthday with genuine joy. After the banquet, Qingxue, feeling rather full, decided to stroll in the back garden to aid her digestion. Her grandfather, in his good spirits, had piled her plate high, and she had inadvertently overeaten. Suddenly, she overheard a conversation about her father, Ling Hu Kong. Without hesitation, she climbed onto a pile of rocks to eavesdrop. Ling Hu Hao gripped Ling Hu Lai's neck, reminding him of their agreement. Ling Hu Lai wore a smug expression. If Ling Hu Ba decided to name him as the heir to the family's martial arts legacy, well, there was nothing to be done. Ling Hu Hao, hearing this, was furious. He reminded Ling Hu Lai that he had personally poisoned Ling Hu Kong. Qingxue was shocked, so there was a reason behind her father's death. These two were responsible. Ling Hu Lai, of course, hadn't forgotten. Nor had he forgotten that Ling Hu Hao had added soul-extinguishing grass to Zhong Li Yuxiu's prenatal medicine. He warned Ling Hu Hao that they were in this together. He then pointedly asked what would happen if Ling Hu Ba discovered the truth. Qingxue gritted her teeth. So, these were the two who had ruined her, turning her into a cripple and destroying her family. Ling Hu Hao finally snapped. He had accepted Ling Hu Lai's initial battle achievements and sworn to secrecy. He threw the record of those achievements at Ling Hu Lai's feet, declaring that from now on, they would each rely on their own abilities. Qingxue silently vowed that one day she would make them experience the same pain of loss and ruin. Lin Xiaoyang and Nangong Rue sat in Jushin Tower. They had chosen a table by the window. Lin Xiaoyang rested his chin on his hand, looking out, wondering why the usually bustling establishment was so quiet today. Nangong Rue, lost in thought, stared into his cup. Lin Xiaoyang nudged him, pointing to a young woman outside. Nangong Rue's jaw dropped. He wondered when such a beauty had appeared in Beijing City. The young woman who had captured their attention was none other than Ling Hu Qingxue. Lin Xiaoyang suspected that this breathtaking beauty was Ling Hu Yaidi, Qingxue's cousin. He had heard that Yaidi was exceptionally gifted, accepted into Huanan Academy at the age of 10. He became even more convinced that this was her. Nangong Rue thought his father was insane. To reject such a beautiful and talented young woman and choose a cripple instead. Aixing suddenly appeared, sporting a new look. He bowed respectfully to Qingxue. His presence here confirmed that he had reached the rank of level 3 warrior. Qingxue handed him a bag of pills, instructing him to auction off half and use the proceeds, in the name of the Juesha sect, to train a group of orphans. Entrusted with such responsibility, Aixing vowed to cultivate even more diligently and serve Qingxue faithfully. With everyone together, Qingxue suggested they celebrate with a grand meal. To prove he wasn't lying, Ling Hu Yumeng personally brought Ji Wushuang to meet Yanhua. Ji Wushuang was quite pleased with Qingxue's beauty, but he was more curious about the deep-seated hatred between her and Yumeng. Yumeng told him to mind his own business, reminding him that he should strike first. Ji Wushuang dropped the subject. After all, he was only interested in Qingxue herself. After the meal, Xianqing decided that the crab roe and crystal dumplings were delicious and wanted to bring some back for his grandfather. Qingxue patted her younger brother's head, pleased by his filial piety. She then instructed Aixing to leave early and order a takeaway portion of the dumplings. Anu also decided to leave early to purchase supplies for Qingxue to take to Huanan Academy. He told Anu to return home directly after finishing her shopping. He also planned to take his younger brother, Xianqing, sightseeing. However, before he could even leave Jushin Tower, he was stopped. Ji Wushuang, with a mischievous glint in his eyes, blocked his path, wanting him to join him for a drink. Lin Xiaoyang, seeing Linghu Qingxue held up by Ji Wushuang, wanted to call on Nangong Rue to help her. But Nangong Rue stopped him. Due to Ji Wushuang's special status, he suggested they wait and see. Linghu Qingxue glared at Ji Wushuang, telling him to get out of her way. This, unexpectedly, seemed to amuse him. He even called her a rose with thorns, saying he liked her even more. A woman of action, Qingxue responded with a swift slap that left his face contorted. Clutching his cheek, Ji Wushuang praised her fiery spirit and seemed to take her more seriously. Xianqing suddenly attacked Ji Wushuang, trying to protect his sister. Unexpectedly, Ji Wushuang not only dodged the attack, but also landed a blow that seriously injured Xianqing. Luckily, Linghu Qingxue reacted quickly and caught him. Linghu Qingxue immediately fed him a medicinal pill and warily eyed Ji Wushuang. After settling her brother, she prepared to give Ji Wushuang a taste of her 7-star begonia poison. Ji Wushuang, seemingly unafraid, immediately launched an attack. Lin Xiaoyang, unable to stand by any longer, thought Ji Wushuang was going too far. Ignoring Nangong Rue's warnings, he declared he would intervene. With that, he jumped out the window. He landed in front of Linghu Qingxue, warning Ji Wushuang not to touch her. Ji Wushuang, recognizing Lin Xiaoyang, questioned whether he truly intended to interfere. Lin Xiaoyang, disregarding Ji Wushuang's status, vowed to protect Linghu Qingxue. Linghu Qingxue's impression of Lin Xiaoyang improved considerably. She also learned he was the young master of the Lingbo estate. Ji Wushuang suddenly burst into laughter, golden light emanating from behind him. Linghu Qingxue was stunned. She hadn't expected this playboy, Ji Wushuang, to be a level 9 Grand Warrior. She knew Lin Xiaoyang would be no match for him and couldn't bear to see him die on her account. Before she could act, another figure leaped from Jushin Tower. It was her ex-husband, Nangong Rue. Without a word, he gathered a wave of green energy. Nangong Rue's attack left Ji Wushuang drenched in sweat. A powerful explosion followed, sending Ji Wushuang flying. Clutching his chest, Ji Wushuang was surprised to see Nangong Rue intervene. Learning that her rescuer was her ex-husband, Linghu Qingxue inwardly scoffed at his two-faced nature. Nangong Rue spoke some polite platitudes, advising Ji Wushuang not to lose his composure over a woman. Seeing he was outnumbered, Ji Wushuang slunk away. Lin Xiaoyang immediately asked Linghu Qingxue if she was all right. She assured him she was fine and thanked him for his help. He then introduced himself and Nangong Rue. Linghu Qingxue found Nangong Rue cold and aloof, inwardly relieved that their engagement was broken. Unbeknownst to her, he still mistook her for Linghu Yaidi, assuming her coldness stemmed from her sister's broken engagement. Thankfully, Anu appeared. Qingxue immediately instructed her to find a carriage, wanting to return home quickly. Nangong Rue, still harboring feelings, offered to escort her, hoping to create an opportunity for their relationship to rekindle. She politely declined, but bid Lin Xiaoyang farewell, promising to see him again. Lin Xiaoyang blushed at being singled out, oblivious to his friend's simmering jealousy. Linghu Yumeng and Meng Lin were furious. Not only was Linghu Qingxue unharmed, but she had also befriended Lin Xiaoyang. Linghu Qingxue settled Xianqing in bed. He was now much better. She instructed Anu to look after her brother and decided to take the crab roe and crystal dumplings to her grandfather. On her way to his courtyard, she spotted Linghu Qiluo from afar. She tried to ignore her and walk past, but Qiluo stopped her, mentioning Ji Wushuang and Jushin Tower. surprised that Chilua knew about the incident. Qingxue suspected she had been followed. Chilua simply told her that Linghu Yumeng was behind everything. Both Yumeng and Meng Lin want her dead, so Chilua's sudden concern felt disingenuous. As expected, Chilua simply wanted to see her and Yumeng destroy each other. She hadn't realized the venomous sisters' bond was so fragile. She decided to play along. She knew Linghu Yumeng loved the scent of orchids, but was allergic to them, and every night she had her maid, Abi, gather the fragrance. It would help her sleep. This was a good opportunity for Linghu Qingxue. She called Anu to the back garden, ready to put on a show for the venomous sisters. Meanwhile, Abi, Linghu Yuming's personal maid, was on her way to the back garden to gather orchid fragrance for her mistress. Before she even entered, she overheard someone gossiping about Linghu Yumeng. Linghu Qingxue and Anu sat in the back garden, discussing the events that had transpired at Jushin Tower. Qingxue tearfully confided in Anu that she had learned from Linghu Chilua that Ji Wushuang had been sent by Linghu Yumeng to harass her. Anu slammed her fist on the table, furious. She declared her intention to report Linghu Yumeng to Linghu Ba and demand justice for Qingxue. She planned to confront Linghu Chua the following day and expose Yumeng together, ensuring that their grandfather would punish her severely. Overhearing this, Abi felt the world crumble around her. Her mistress's plan had been discovered. She scrambled out of the garden, desperate to relay the information to Linghu Yumeng. Watching her flee, Anu doubled over with laughter, calling her a fool. Qingxue's performance was over, and she was eager to see what the venomous sisters would do next. At that moment, Linghu Yumeng was leisurely plucking flower petals and tossing them into the lake. Abi arrived, breathless and panicked. Before she could speak, Linghu Yumeng pelted her with flowers. Abi immediately fell to her knees and recounted everything she had heard between Linghu Qingxue and Anu. She also revealed Qingxue's plan to expose Yumeng with Linghu Chilua's help. Upon hearing of Chilua's betrayal, Yumeng pulled a small, silken pouch from her sleeve. She handed the pouch, filled with a powdery substance, to Abi, instructing her to slip it into Linghu Chilua's tea. It was originally intended for Linghu Qingxue, but since Chilua had betrayed her, she deserved whatever came to her. Linghu Qingxue was reading by lamplight when a commotion outside disturbed her. Anu informed her that something had happened to Linghu Chilua. Dropping her book, Qingxue rushed out to witness the spectacle. From the doorway, she heard Meng Lin berating a physician. Linghu Chilua was covered in welts, crying out in pain and itching. Meng Lin tried to comfort her, explaining that Linghu Lai had gone to Lanling Tianfang to seek a cure and urging her not to scratch. Qingxue recognized the symptoms as poisoning from the mandala 7 Nights flower. The poison had entered Chilua's meridians. She was beyond saving. Just then, Linghu Ba and Linghu Yumeng, alerted by the commotion, arrived on the scene. Linghu Ba was horrified by Chilua's condition. Meng Lin immediately fell to her knees, begging him to save her daughter. Suddenly, a shout erupted from outside, demanding that Linghu Hao and Linghu Yumeng come out. Without a word, Linghu Lai punched Linghu Hao in the face. He blamed them for offending Master Tumi, which had resulted in his expulsion from Lanling Tianfang and his failure to obtain the cure. Linghu Hao, believing Linghu Lai had gone mad to take his anger out on him, refused to take the beating lying down. The two began to brawl, neither willing to yield. Linghu Ba intervened, ordering them to stop and dispatching servants to find a skilled physician for Linghu Chilua. But it was too late. Overcome by pain, Linghu Chilua slammed her head against a pillar and died. With Chilua gone, Linghu Hao immediately pleaded with Linghu Ba to give the Huanan Academy enrollment spot to Linghu Yumeng. Linghu Lai lunged at Linghu Hao, grabbing him by the collar and cursing him. Exasperated by the chaos, Linghu Ba granted the spot to Yumeng and ordered preparations for Chilua's funeral. With Linghu Chilua dead, that score was settled. Now, Linghu Qingxue would deal with Linghu Yumeng. She bid farewell to Anu, asking her to look after her younger brother and grandfather. She gave Anu the cultivation-enhancing pills, urging her to train diligently. Then, mounting her unicorn, she set off with Linghu Yumeng for Huanan Academy. As night fell, Linghu Qingxue decided to find a place to rest and replenish her energy. She sat beneath a large tree and opened the package Anu had prepared for her. Inside was a feast of delicious food, both meat and vegetables. Touched by Anu's thoughtfulness, she resolved to reward her generously later. As she bit into a chicken leg, she heard a rustling in the nearby bushes. To her surprise, it was Linghu Yumeng, looking disheveled. The two locked eyes, the air thick with awkwardness. Linghu Yumeng was drenched in sweat. Despite her efforts to avoid Qingxue on the road, they had still encountered each other. Watching the other person happily munching on a chicken leg, his own stomach growled louder. His luck had been terrible. He'd barely escaped a pack of ultimate demonic beasts, only to run straight into his enemy. Linghu Qingxue was enjoying a drink when someone called out to her. Several people introduced themselves as applicants to Huanan Academy, hoping to rest there with her. She readily agreed to their request, generously sharing her food and wine. The group sat beneath the tree, talking and laughing. Jiang Jiu even danced for their entertainment. Linghu Yumeng fumed with silent rage nearby. Linghu Qingxue would rather share her food with strangers than with him. He pointedly asked Linghu Qingxue if she also planned to take the Huanan Academy entrance exam. She answered in the affirmative. Her companions noticed Linghu Yumeng not far off and called out, inviting him to join them. Linghu Yumeng, however, mistook their friendly gesture for a plan to gang up on him and angrily refused. Linghu Qingxue encouraged her companions to rest early and set off at dawn. The group arrived at Huanan Academy without incident. The academy gates were already thronged with a massive crowd. Jiang Jiu heard that Huanan Academy was only accepting 20 students this year. Judging by the crowd, it seemed the odds were stacked against them. Huasher reassured him, encouraging him to have confidence. After all, he had distinguished himself in the family competition, so there shouldn't be a problem. Linghu Qingxue didn't care how many students they were accepting. She was determined to enter Huanan Academy, no matter what. Many applicants sat down to rest, grumbling about the heat. Seeing Jiang Jiu's fatigue, Huasher suggested they sit and rest for a while. Linghu Qingxue suspected it was a test and warned them against it. Jiang Jiu decided to heed her advice. Huasher thoughtfully helped him to his feet. Linghu Yumeng was drenched in sweat, having barely passed the first stage of the horse stance. An hour later, the gates of Huanan Academy finally opened. Someone emerged to announce that those who were physically weak, had fainted, or had sat down should leave. Many applicants protested, arguing that Huanan Academy was being unreasonable. Jiang Jiu, upon hearing the news, was grateful he had listened to Linghu Qingxue. Otherwise, his journey would have been in vain. Several children of wealthy and noble families began cursing Huanan Academy. Linghu Qingxue, however, found the academy intriguing and looked forward to the upcoming tests. Many applicants protested that they had endured harsh weather and sleepless nights only to be denied the chance to even take the exam. Zhugeqi appeared and explained that the first test had already concluded. It had assessed their endurance and willpower. Linghu Qingxue thought the test was quite ingenious. It had easily eliminated more than half the candidates. Many applicants complained that the test was unfair, as they hadn't been informed it had already begun. Zhugeqi countered that if they lacked the most basic endurance and willpower, there was no point in discussing cultivation. The applicants, drenched in sweat, fell silent. Some applicants with a sense of pride, accepting Zhugeqi's rebuke, left of their own accord. Linghu Qingxue suddenly noticed an instructor staring at her, someone she had never met before. The instructor staring at Linghu Qingxue was Ji Rui, Ji Wushuang's uncle. He recognized her instantly and planned to sabotage her chances of entering Huanan Academy. After a while longer, most of the disqualified applicants had departed. Ji Rui noticed that among those remaining, some had sat on the ground. Without a word, he attacked those who had tried to slip through. A flash of yellow light zipped past Linghu Qingxue, making her eyes widen in surprise. A man cried out in pain as his arm was severely injured, collapsing to the ground. Linghu Qingxue tensed. Ji Rui had shattered the bones in the man's entire arm. Seeing this, many applicants fled Huanan Academy in terror. Ji Rui then ordered the remaining applicants to form a line, preparing for the second test. Ling Hu Qingxue sensed Ji Rui's killing intent. If he dared to attack her, she would not hesitate to retaliate. Jiang Jiu suddenly took her arm, urging her to move. Ji Rui was surprised that Ling Hu Qingxue didn't seem afraid of him. He planned to make her suffer later. The remaining applicants entered Huanan Academy. Several senior students in uniform suddenly appeared before them. Jiang Jiu guessed that the second round would involve sparring with current Huanan Academy students. Ling Hu Qingxue reassured him, saying they would face whatever came their way. Jiang Jiu felt this opportunity was hard-won, and he didn't want to lose. Huasher clapped him on the shoulder, encouraging him to treat it like regular training. Bolstered by his companions and cousins' support, his spirits instantly lifted. As the second exam began, they were immediately surrounded by senior disciples. The seniors quickly launched their attacks, showing no mercy. The group immediately fought back. Ling Hu Qingxue reminded her companions to be careful. Ling Hu Yameng was surprised that Qingxue had lasted this long and planned a sneak attack while the chaos ensued. Jiang Jiu, noticing Qingxue under attack, yelled a warning. Not only that, but he also jumped in front of her, shielding her from Yuming's attack. This worried Huasher sick. He immediately rushed forward to catch Jiang Jiu. Ling Hu Yameng, finding Jiang Jiu and his companions a nuisance, decided to eliminate them. At the critical moment, Qingxue intercepted the attack meant for Huasher and the others, accusing Yameng of dirty tactics. Since Jiang Jiu had protected her, she couldn't just stand by and watch. Her companions also rushed forward, joining Qingxue in protecting Jiang Jiu. Huasher was touched by their loyalty and camaraderie. With his companion's support, Jiang Jiu's spirits revived. He couldn't give up. The four of them stood back to back, facing their enemies together. Ling Hu Yameng was furious. Not only had her attack failed to injure Qingxue, but it had also given her allies. She intensified her assault, refusing to lose to a waste. Qingxue, sensing everyone was reaching their limit, guessed the exam was about to end. Sure enough, within 2.5 minutes, Ji Rui called a halt to the test, announcing the third exam would begin in a quarter of an hour. Thanks to his companion's protection, Jiang Jiu had passed the exam. He apologized to them. The relationship between him and Qingxue had also improved considerably because of this trial. Watching the group chatting and laughing, Ling Hu Yameng seethed, convinced Qingxue had only passed through luck. Then she spotted her brother Xiaoyang, looking around as if searching for someone. She quickly adjusted her hair, hoping Lin Xiaoyang would notice her. She approached him and started a conversation. He ignored her. To her dismay, he turned and spoke to Qingxue instead. Qingxue, surprised to see Lin Xiaoyang, asked if he was also there for the exams. Lin Xiaoyang was overjoyed that Qingxue remembered him. Hearing the young man call Qingxue by name, he was shocked. Rumor had it that Ling Hu Qingxue was both ugly and useless. Although he didn't voice the latter part, Qingxue guessed his thoughts and finished the sentence for him, saying the words ugly and useless herself. He broke out in a cold sweat and hastily explained he hadn't meant that. He suddenly thought that if Nangong Rui knew the girl he'd saved was Ling Hu Qingxue, he'd be filled with regret. Seeing Qingxue and Lin Xiaoyang chatting amicably, Ling Hu Yameng was once again filled with resentment. She vowed to destroy Qingxue. Qingxue also succeeded in the third, sparring exam, and proceeded to the fourth exam, the elemental talent test. Ji Rui instructed the remaining 25 candidates to line up for the test in the same order as the previous exam. Qingxue knew that the strength of one's elemental power directly affected cultivation speed. Besides the 3 levels of low, medium, and high, there were also special, top, and super levels. Ling Hu Yameng was the first to be tested. She possessed a special level fire element and easily qualified. Several people praised her ability. She walked past Qingxue with an air of arrogance. She still suspected Qingxue of cultivating forbidden techniques and waited to see her fail. Jiang Jiu and his 2 companions possessed high-level earth, wood, and metal elements, respectively, and also passed the test. Lin Xiaoyang had a dual talent in earth and metal, naturally placing him among those who qualified. Ji Rui stroked the crystal ball, marveling at the caliber of this year's new students. The last candidate to test their talent was Ling Hu Qingxue. Ji Rui had been waiting for this moment. He wouldn't let her enter Huanan Academy easily. Qingxue knew she possessed a 5-element constitution, but had never tested her talent. This was a good opportunity to see what it was. She channeled her battle qi into the crystal ball, but there was no reaction. She was shocked, unsure what was happening. Although Qingxue had consumed the phantom spirit liquid to mask her battle qi, she could feel the presence of elements within her. Yet, the crystal ball remained unresponsive. Ji Rui smeared fluorescent powder on the crystal ball. Even the strongest elemental energy wouldn't show. Linghu Qingxue, refusing to believe it, decided to try again with more force. Because he had offended Ji Wushuang, Ji Rui wanted Linghu Qingxue to be deemed worthless by Huanan Academy. But he hadn't expected her to shatter the crystal ball with a surge of power. Ji Rui cursed her as having useless meridians, complaining that she had broken a priceless treasure. As he ordered someone to seize her, she suddenly burst out laughing, mocking Huanan Academy as being nothing special. Ji Rui offered a place in the regular classes in exchange for capturing Linghu Qingxue. The effect was immediate. A crowd surged forward, eager to serve Ji Rui. Even Linghu Yameng was among them. After all, the regular class was where the nation's top geniuses gathered. Her companions, along with Lin Xiaoyang, immediately shielded Linghu Qingxue, trying to protect her. They tried to explain to the crowd, suggesting that the crystal ball shattering might have been a coincidence. Linghu Yameng suddenly stepped forward, vehemently claiming that Linghu Qingxue cultivated forbidden techniques. A cacophony of voices erupted. Some criticized Linghu Qingxue's techniques as strange and malicious. Linghu Yameng, satisfied with the situation, thought, at this rate, Linghu Qingxue is doomed. Soon, the examinees were clamoring to kill Linghu Qingxue. Unfazed, she gathered her battle qi, threatening carnage. The crowd instantly fell silent, sweat beading on their brows. The quiet held until Ji Rui gave the order to seize her. They rushed forward, unleashing their battle qi, intending to subdue Linghu Qingxue. A sudden boom echoed through the air. Someone was arriving. Linghu Qingxue looked towards the sound. To her surprise, it was someone she knew. Bei Ming Tianyu, riding his white tiger, Xueling, made his entrance. The crowd began murmuring about Bei Ming Tianyu. Linghu Qingxue then learned that he was the crown prince of the Bei Ming Empire. She had suspected he was someone of importance, but not a crown prince. Bei Ming Tianyu called out to her, saying long time no see. She waved back, casually addressing him as Tianyu. Bei Ming Tianyu marveled at how much more beautiful she had become in just 6 months. Seeing the crown prince smiling at a worthless girl infuriated Linghu Yameng and the other women present. Linghu Yameng seethed with jealousy. Not only had Linghu Qingxue snagged her Xiaoyang Gij, but she also knew the crown prince. Bei Ming Tianyu, claiming to be an alumnus, offered to show Linghu Qingxue around. Ji Rui intercepted them, informing him that Linghu Qingxue was a criminal who had destroyed a precious artifact and couldn't simply be taken away. Bei Ming Tianyu coolly asked if Ji Rui was threatening him. Ji Rui quickly backpedaled, saying he wouldn't dare, but that damaging the artifact was a serious matter. Bei Ming Tianyu impatiently stated that he would have another crystal ball found, and that Ji Rui should arrange a class for Linghu Qingxue. Linghu Qingxue was surprised to learn that in just 6 months, Bei Ming Tianyu had advanced to a level 1 battle king. Ji Rui, unable to defy Bei Ming Tianyu, decided to deal with Linghu Qingxue after she enrolled. Bei Ming Tianyu took Linghu Qingxue to relax by Bright Moon Lake behind a mountain. They sat on the grass and chatted. He admired Linghu Qingxue for not fawning over him because of his status. Noticing she seemed distracted, he asked what she was thinking. He smiled, relieved that she was still so straightforward. He reminded her to keep the waste token he had given her and to use it if she encountered trouble, urging her not to risk her life again. Linghu Qingxue felt a surge of warmth. It was good to have friends who had faced hardship together and who genuinely cared for her safety. As it was getting late, and Bei Ming Tianyu needed to return to the imperial capital, he offered to escort her back. Hearing he had official duties, she suggested he leave first, assuring him she could return on her own. He agreed, but reminded her to be careful. The next morning, Jiang Jiu took Linghu Qingxue to the registration office to collect her uniform. Several students gossiped about Linghu Qingxue questioning how someone with useless meridians had the nerve to collect a uniform. Whispers followed Ling Hu Qingxue everywhere as she collected her uniform. They went to the notice board to check their class assignments and discovered that she had been placed in Class 6. Hearing that the literary and history department didn't teach combat, Jiang Jiao became worried for her and suggested she ask the crown prince for help. But she just stared at the notice board, silent. Ling Hu Yameng and Sima Xiao were also at the registration office. The two immediately began taunting Ling Hu Qingxue, calling her shameless. Sima Xiao deliberately brought up the broken engagement, and together they accused her of being wanton and indecent. Jiang Jiao, hearing them slander Ling Hu Qingxue, immediately spoke up in her defense. They told him not to lower himself to their level and, taking his arm, pulled him away from the unpleasant scene. Ling Hu Qingxue pretended indifference, but a seed of revenge had been planted. Now, changed into her school uniform, she strolled through the woods, her spirits momentarily lifted. Her good mood was short-lived. She heard Ling Hu Yuming's voice not far away. Sima Xiao was inviting Ling Hu Yameng to the lake behind the mountain, but she seemed uninterested. Ling Hu Qingxue, surprised by Sima Xiao's apparent infatuation with Ling Hu Yameng, saw an opportunity. Using her psychic abilities, she took control of both Ling Hu Yameng and Sima Xiao. By the time Sima Xiao realized he couldn't move, it was too late. Under her psychic control, neither of them would remember her presence. Covering her nose and mouth, she sprinkled her newly concocted harmony powder on them. With that done, she hid behind a tree and released her psychic hold. The harmony powder took effect quickly. Both of them felt their hearts race and their faces flush. Within seconds, Sima Xiao lunged at Ling Hu Yameng, tearing at her clothes. Ling Hu Qingxue, hidden behind the tree, smirked. The powder was even more effective than she'd anticipated. Soon, the woods began to fill with students, their laughter and chatter echoing through the trees. Someone noticed the commotion and shouted, drawing the attention of the other students. When Ling Hu Yameng and Sima Xiao were discovered, Sima Xiao's hand was still clutching Ling Hu Yuming's red undergarment. Several students immediately surrounded them, mocking their apparent preferences. Sima Xiao quickly shielded Ling Hu Yameng, telling her not to be afraid, that he was there for her. His reassurance was met with a slap to the face. "What are we going to do now?" she demanded. Clutching his cheek, he ordered the onlookers to leave, only earning more scorn and derision. Some of his classmates, embarrassed by the spectacle, began to drift away. He again tried to comfort Ling Hu Yameng, promising to deal with those who mocked them. She slapped him again, demanding he get her out of there. Ling Hu Yameng was furious. How dare these wretches speak of her this way? Their voices only grew louder, accusing her of shaming women, of being a disgrace to her family. Enraged, she screamed, threatening to tear out their tongues if they spoke another word. Undeterred, they continued, criticizing her arrogance and shamelessness after such an act. Ling Hu Qingxue had finally given Ling Hu Yameng a taste of public humiliation. Pleased with her handiwork, she stretched, her mood considerably brightened. It was still early, so she decided to visit the library. She showed her student ID to the attendant, who granted her entry. Stepping inside, she was awestruck. The Huanan Academy library was truly magnificent. She noted the 5 levels of bookshelves, guessing that each corresponded to a different elemental discipline. Exploring further, her suspicions were confirmed. Now, she could easily find books to aid her cultivation. Quickly, she gathered an armful of volumes. The stack was too high, and she bumped into someone, sending books scattering and landing her squarely on her backside. A man with a noble air extended his hand, asking if she was all right. Ling Hu Qingxue was immediately captivated by his refined presence. She hadn't imagined someone so elegant and otherworldly existed. He helped her up, and she thanked him. Xiao Muran, still holding her hand, suddenly sensed something amiss. He quickly withdrew his hand, having detected a demonic energy emanating from her. She blinked her wide, innocent eyes and asked his name. He frowned, telling her he was Xiao Muran, a senior instructor in the Department of Literature and History. His mind, however, was still preoccupied with the demonic energy, which he now realized had vanished. The other person politely introduced themselves, explaining they were Ling Hu Qingxue from the Department of Literature and History. He didn't say much, simply picking up the book that had fallen at his feet. After handing the book over, he excused himself and left. Ling Hu Qingxue accepted the book from Xiao Muran, bidding him a respectful farewell. She hadn't expected such a handsome teacher in the Department of Literature and History. She was sure her days ahead wouldn't be too dull. Before class, the students chattered excitedly, discussing how Xiao Muran would be teaching them. Hearing her classmates' discussion, Linghu Qingxue was surprised by Xiao Muran's popularity. Xiao Muran brought in a traditional Chinese painting. He asked the students to sit and instructed them to quietly appreciate the painting, write down their thoughts, and then create a painting of their own. Then, he called on Linghu Qingxue by name, expressing his anticipation for her work. Caught off guard, Linghu Qingxue was momentarily stunned, accidentally dipping her hand into the inkstone. Xiao Muran looked at her with a seemingly harmless smile. The female students all turned to look at her, their expressions less than friendly. Linghu Qingxue immediately realized Xiao Muran was deliberately making her a target. Qingxue couldn't fathom Xiao Muran's true intentions, but she was determined not to let him hinder her place in the Department of Literature and History. Xiao Muran, on the other hand, was deeply curious about the demonic energy surrounding Qingxue, wanting to use this opportunity to investigate. With Xiao Muran's command, the painting appreciation began. Qingxue tilted her head, stroking her chin, and examined the painting. Sensing something amiss with the painting, a deep vortex suddenly swirled into existence on the canvas, its irresistible force attempting to consume Qingxue. Then, several dazzling beams of light, like snakes darting from a hole, shot towards Qingxue, pulling her into the world within the painting. Qingxue's face paled. She hadn't expected a hidden trap within the painting. Searching for a way to escape, she closed her eyes, steadied her mind, and warned herself not to be fooled by the illusions within the painting. The blinding lights scattered and dissipated. The tension and unease that had filled the air seemed to vanish along with them. Cold sweat trickled down Qingxue's forehead. She was grateful for her vigilance, having successfully averted the crisis. A gentle voice called out, and a hand touched Qingxue's shoulder, pulling her back from the depths of her thoughts. Xiao Muran stood before her, his voice filled with concern as he asked if she was all right. Xiao Muran, having disturbed Qingxue's concentration, could detect neither her battle qi nor the demonic energy, and began to wonder if he had been overthinking. He asked Qingxue, puzzled, if her distress wasn't due to the painting. Qingxue then offered high praise for the artwork, commending its flowing lines, profound meaning, and visual comfort. Bei Ming Yanjue, the princess of the Bei Ming Empire, overheard Qingxue's eloquent words and ground her teeth in frustration. Xiao Muran observed Qingxue's face, devoid of any visible distress, and her flawless explanation. He sensed she was deliberately lying. Bei Ming Yanjue picked up her own paper and informed Xiao Muran that she had completed the task, requesting his feedback. The others present followed Bei Ming Yanjue's lead, asking Xiao Muran for his guidance. Qingxue felt increasingly uncomfortable interacting with Xiao Muran. Free from his scrutiny, she returned her focus to her painting. Having finished her painting, Qingxue couldn't help but worry about Oyechen's injuries, wondering about his recovery. Finally, the bell signaling the end of class rang. Qingxue stood up, rubbing her aching back from sitting for so long. Just as she was about to leave the classroom, Bei Ming Yanjue and her entourage appeared, blocking her path. Bei Ming Yanjue aggressively confronted Qingxue, telling her to know her place and not to harbor any illusions about Xiao Muran. Qingxue, however, showed utter disdain for the warning, ordering Bei Ming Yanjue to move aside. Bei Ming Yanjue, taken aback by Qingxue's defiance, threatened to make her disappear from Huanan Academy. Qingxue, disgusted by Bei Ming Yanjue's bullying, called her an idiot without hesitation and attempted to leave. Infuriated by the insult, Bei Ming Yanjue grabbed Qingxue's shoulder, spinning her around. She raised her hand, intending to teach Qingxue a harsh lesson and make her suffer. However, a shout rang out, and a hand firmly intercepted Bei Ming Yanjue's descending hand. A stern warning against Bei Ming Yanjue's provocative behavior accompanied the intervention. This sudden, heroic rescue stunned everyone present. The newcomer was none other than Bei Ming Tianling, Bei Ming Tianyu's younger brother. Qingxue was utterly surprised by Bei Ming Tianling's appearance. She hadn't expected him to be studying here as well. Bei Ming Yanjue irritated, flung off Bei Ming Tianling's hand. As Bei Ming Tianling's older brother, Yin Jue was furious that Tianling was helping an outsider bully him. Tianling reminded Yin Jue not to cause trouble for their elder brother at the academy and to honor the instructions he'd given before leaving. Then, he enthusiastically waved to Qing Xue, inviting her to walk with him. Qing Xue readily agreed, leaving a bewildered Bei Ming Yin Jue behind. Walking beside Bei Ming Tianling, Qing Xue noticed he had grown taller in the past 6 months and seemed well. Watching the two depart, Bei Ming Yinjue's face twisted in a grimace. He swore to make Qing Xue pay. Bei Ming Tianling, overjoyed to find Qing Xue also attending Huanan Academy, offered to treat her to a meal. Qing Xue smiled at him and happily accepted, adding that she wouldn't be shy about it. Just then, 2 girls nearby whispered, gossiping about Linghu Yumeng and Sima Xiao. They were discussing how Yumeng and Xiao had been expelled for being caught by the headmaster in the woods by the river. Hearing the news of Linghu Yumeng's expulsion, Qing Xue couldn't help but feel a surge of malicious glee towards the wrathful Linghu clan. Bei Ming Tianling, puzzled by her sudden laughter, asked what was so funny. Qing Xue reached out and stroked his head, saying that seeing his sweet face reminded her of her younger brother. A blush crept up Bei Ming Tianling's cheeks. Learning that Qing Xue had a younger brother filled him with a pang of envy. Feeling a rumble in her stomach, Qing Xue quickly took Tianling's hand and pulled him towards the dining hall. Arriving at the dining hall, Qing Xue prepared to order, turning to ask Tianling about his preferences. He told her to choose whatever she liked. He would fetch the chopsticks. The other students in the dining hall murmured amongst themselves, convinced that Qing Xue had stumbled into incredible luck to have caught Bei Ming Tianling's attention. At the table, seeing Qing Xue take a sip of wine, Bei Ming Tianling raised his own cup and followed suit. Almost immediately, a flush rose on his cheeks. Noticing this, Qing Xue offered to take him back to rest, but Tianling insisted he could handle more. However, the words had barely left his mouth before he slumped onto the table, clearly overcome by the alcohol. Qing Xue burst out laughing at his drunken state. After placing their meal trays on the table, she carefully helped the unconscious Bei Ming Tianling back to his quarters. On their way, 2 familiar figures appeared ahead, Lin Xiaoyang and Yu Shiqi. Qing Xue's eyes lit up with relief. They were like a sight for sore eyes. She immediately thrust Bei Ming Tianling into their care, begging them to help get him back to his dormitory. Without even giving them time to react, Qing Xue hurriedly bid them farewell and turned to leave, leaving the two standing there dumbfounded, awkwardly supporting the passed-out Bei Ming Tianling between them. As Qing Xue reached the woods, her steps became cautious, carefully observing her surroundings. She knew someone had tampered with the wine and that this person was lurking in the shadows, watching her. To draw out the culprit, she hatched a plan. She pretended to succumb to the effects of the drugged wine and collapsed to the ground. Hidden in the shadows, Ji Wushuang smirked. Even at Huanan Academy, Qing Xue couldn't escape his grasp. Just as the lecherous Ji Wushuang was about to lay his hands on the seemingly unconscious Qing Xue, a pebble flew from a distance, striking his wrist hard and eliciting a cry of pain. Ji Wushuang clutched his injured hand and frantically looked around, trying to find his attacker. Feigning unconsciousness, Qing Xue realized then that they were the ones behind the sabotage of the crystal ball, preventing her from testing her elemental power. Ji Wushuang, seeing nothing amiss, wondered if he had imagined it. He then composed himself and turned his attention back to Qing Xue on the ground, ready to resume his sinister plan. But as he approached, Qing Xue's patience snapped. She abruptly sat up and splashed a venomous liquid into Ji Wushuang's face. Ji Wushuang clutched his burning eyes, screaming in agony and cursing Qing Xue. A triumphant smirk curved Qing Xue's lips. This begonia venom, she declared, was payback for the sleeping draft he'd slipped into her wine. Blood streamed from Ji Wushuang's eyes. He realized with horror that he had lost his vision. Consumed by rage and despair, he summoned his battle chi, vowing to kill Qing Xue to avenge his suffering. After nimbly dodging the attack, Qing Xue watched the poisoned Ji Wushuang desperately summon his battle chi. She couldn't help but taunt him, saying he had a death wish. As soon as her words fell, Ji Wushuang began to cough violently, spitting up crimson blood. The backlash worsened his injuries. He could no longer support himself and collapsed backward with a thud. Even on the ground, Ji Wushuang refused to give up. He swore he would tear Qing Xue to pieces. However, Qing Xue's merciless foot landed squarely on his face, silencing his furious roars. Qing Xue scoffed, calling him a good-for-nothing who could never be a match for her. With a final, contemptuous press of her foot against his face, she added insult to injury. The unyielding Ji Wushuang, with surprising defiance, declared he would rather die than be humiliated. Qing Xue found Ji Wushuang's spirited words amusing. She lifted her foot and slowly drew her dagger, threatening him with the knowledge of his fondness for women. A terrified Ji Wushuang desperately tried to stop her, but he couldn't stop her. Qing Xue's dagger flashed, a blur of motion against his skin. A sharp cry of pain followed, and Ji Wushuang clutched his wound, writhing in agony on the ground. At that moment, Ji Rue happened to pass by. The commotion caught his attention, and he approached, curious to discover who was making such a racket. As he drew closer, he was shocked to discover that the person lying on the ground, now incapable of further manhood, was his nephew, Ji Wushuang. He rushed forward and cradled Ji Wushuang, tears streaming down his face as he listened to his nephew's weak cries of pain. He softly reassured him, promising that the pain would soon be over. With that, Ji Rue raised his hands, summoning his battle chi. A green aura enveloped him as he pressed his palm against Ji Wushuang's forehead. The words, "Be saved," were Ji Wushuang's last in this world. In Ji Rue's eyes, death was a mercy for Ji Wushuang. Holding his nephew's lifeless body, he swore vengeance. He rose, his gaze fixed on Qing Xue, and declared with venomous intent that she would join Ji Wushuang in the afterlife. Qing Xue hadn't expected the old man, Ji Rue, to be so powerful, a 9th-level battle master. Ji Rue raised his hand, gathering his battle chi for a fierce attack, determined to make her pay with her life. Qing Xue struggled to defend herself, knowing her only chance of survival was to gamble with the 5 elements. Just then, a hand pressed against her back, channeling power into her. Qing Xue's strength surged. Her power broke through Ji Rue's energy barrier and slammed into him, sending him flying backward to crash heavily against a tree. Qing Xue stared in disbelief. The person who had intervened was Xiao Muron. Ji Rue clutched his chest and stood up, demanding to know why Xiao Muron had stopped him from avenging Ji Wushuang. Xiao Muron explained that Ji Wushuang's fate was a consequence of his own actions and had nothing to do with Qing Xue. Qing Xue's heart pounded. Xiao Muron had clearly witnessed everything. She suspected his constant probing of her had a deeper purpose. Ji Rue, however, saw Xiao Muron's intervention as blatant favoritism and vowed not to let Qing Xue off so easily. Considering Ji Rue's recent loss, Xiao Muron decided to spare him and let the matter drop. Ji Rue, intimidated by Xiao Muron's power, couldn't understand his uncharacteristic defense of Qing Xue. Ji Rue picked up Ji Wushuang's body and turned to leave, but not before threatening Qing Xue that as long as he lived, he would have his revenge. After Ji Rue's departure, Qing Xue thanked Xiao Muron. He, in turn, demanded an explanation for the 7-star begonia poison, suspecting she had obtained it through demonic influences. Unsure of Xiao Muron's intentions, Qing Xue dared not reveal her Chami identity. She claimed the crown prince had given it to her. Xiao Muron remained skeptical. Qing Xue insisted, explaining that the crown prince, fearing for her safety, had given her the poison and a demon token for protection. She even produced the token as proof. Xiao Muron examined the demon token, recognizing it as belonging to the crown prince. After some consideration, he seemed to accept Qing Xue's explanation. As it was getting late, Xiao Muron told Qing Xue to return and rest. She obediently bid him farewell. Watching Qing Xue depart, Xiao Muron silently hoped she had no connection to the demons. In the evening, beneath the star-strewn sky within the Sancheng Star River Wall, Qing Xue gracefully emerged from the teleportation array, her figure lithe and elegant. He strolled at a leisurely pace, slowly entering the grand and imposing mansion. It had been a while since Qing Shue had set foot here, and she couldn't help but wonder about Yechen's recovery. Just then, Yun Kei, the lark, flew towards her, offering a warm welcome upon her return. Qing Shue extended her hand towards Yun Kei, inquiring about Yechen's condition. Perching on her shoulder, Yun Kei informed her that Yechen had likely suffered damage to his foundation. After trying the soul restoration pill, he hadn't left his room. Upon hearing this, Qing Shue decided to visit the library and read for a while, choosing not to disturb Yechen for the time being. The next morning, Qing Shue was still immersed in her studies, engrossed in the book she held. Yun Kei gracefully arrived from the window, carrying flower nectar for Qing Shue to taste. Qing Shue looked up and gently accepted the nectar, expressing her gratitude for Yun Kei's thoughtfulness. Sipping the nectar, Qing Shue turned another page in her book. Unable to find the cultivation method for the 5 elements, she decided to visit the Yinwu Hall. She had barely reached the entrance when Beiming Yinjue, followed by his entourage, appeared close behind. Beiming Yinjue sarcastically remarked on Qing Shue's audacity to step foot in the Yinwu Hall. The others present murmured amongst themselves. Facing Beiming Yinjue's sardonic gaze and words, Qing Shue remained seemingly indifferent, sparing him only a fleeting glance. Beiming Yinjue provocatively challenged her to a duel, declaring that if she lost, she would be expelled from Huannan Academy. At that moment, Jiao, emerging from the Yinwu Hall, called out to Qing Shue. Taking Qing Shue's arm, she explained to Beiming Yinjue that Qing Shue was there to see her. Beiming Yinjue considered Jiao's manner of speaking to him disrespectful and ordered her to kneel and apologize. Before Jiao could react, she was forced to her knees by Beiming Yinjue with a thud. Qing Shue immediately grasped Jiao's hand, pulling her to her side. She rebuked Beiming Yinjue for forcing a girl to kneel, accusing him of disregarding the dignity and grace befitting a prince. Beiming Yinjue scoffed, disdainful of Qing Shue's reprimand. He questioned whether she dared to duel him. Qing Shue readily agreed, proposing that if Beiming Yinjue lost, he would clean the latrines for a month. Beiming Yinjue burned with rage at the condition. The surrounding crowd gasped at Qing Shue's audacity. Consumed by fury, Beiming Yinjue gathered his surging battle qi in his palms, intending to silence Qing Shue's provocative words. At this moment, Lin Xiaoyang and Nangong Rue happened to pass by the Yinwu Hall. Intrigued by the commotion within, they paused to observe. As their gazes pierced through the crowd and landed upon Qing Shue, expressions of surprise dawned on their faces. In the ensuing clash, Qing Shue and Beiming Yinjue exchanged blows. Each move met with a countermove, locked in a fierce battle. As the fight reached a fever pitch, Qing Shue seized an opportunity, unleashing a devastating attack with the force of a thunderbolt. Despite his valor, Beiming Yinjue couldn't withstand the onslaught. He stumbled and crashed to the ground. Qing Shue's fist, propelled by momentum, followed through. Just as it seemed her fist would connect with Beiming Yinjue's face, Qing Shue abruptly stopped, declaring him defeated. The unexpected outcome left the onlookers stunned and murmuring in disbelief. They struggled to reconcile the image of Qing Shue as a waste with her victory. Nangong Rue recalled Lin Xiaoyang mentioning that the beauty he had seen before was Qing Shue. He hadn't believed Lin Xiaoyang then, but now, the captivating woman before him was indeed the very Qing Shue he had rejected. Beiming Yinjue, suppressing the stinging pain in his jaw, rose to his feet and vehemently denied his defeat. Arrogant and self-important, he looked down upon the students of Huannan Academy, assuming they wouldn't dare to declare him the loser. However, the crowd, disgusted by Beiming Yinjue's attempt to use his authority to avoid admitting defeat, chanted for him to honor his wager and clean the latrines. Seeing the crowd defy him, Beiming Yinjue's face darkened, his fury intensifying. Nangong Rue believed Qing Shue was deliberately showing off in front of him, seeking to regain his attention after the broken engagement. Thus, Nangong Rue publicly accused Qing Shue of disrespecting the prince and recounted her past misdeeds to teacher Zhengke. He believed this would surely make Qing Shue give up, convinced he wouldn't be swayed by this waste. Qing Shue hadn't expected Nangong Rue to publicly challenge her in such an unreasonable manner. She responded with open sarcasm. Nangong Rui, in turn, bluntly criticized the duke's household's upbringing, suspecting Qing Xue's sarcasm stemmed from a desire to reinstate their engagement. Qing Xue retorted, criticizing the upbringing of the Pingnan royal mansion and asserting that Nangong Rui had no right to judge the duke's household. Nangong Rui, consumed by rage, nearly lost control, raising his fist as if to strike Qing Xue. Upon seeing this, Lin Xiaoyang immediately grabbed Nangong Rui's fist, which was about to strike, and tried to dissuade him. Witnessing the scene, Qing Xue couldn't help but let out a crisp, mocking laugh. Nangong Rui's fury ignited. With a surge of strength, he shoved aside Lin Xiaoyang, who was attempting to restrain him. Without hesitation, he lunged at Qing Xue again, his face a mask of unwavering determination. Suddenly, a sharp burst of battle qi struck Nangong Rui in the chest. He staggered backward involuntarily. Lin Xiaoyang swiftly moved behind him, catching the falling Nangong Rui and looking at him with concern. Then, both Lin Xiaoyang and Nangong Rui turned their gazes towards the source of the battle qi. Xiao Muran stood beside Qing Xue, his posture a clear indication of his protective stance. All the students present bowed to Xiao Muran as a sign of respect. Qing Xue glanced up at Xiao Muran, trying to decipher his intentions. His sudden appearance and intervention were a puzzle. After acknowledging the students' greetings, Xiao Muran offered a few words of both disdain for the princess and praise for Qing Xue. Then, citing the Huanan Academy students' commitment to keeping their promises, he questioned the princess, compelling her to honor her agreement. As an admirer of Xiao Muran, the princess naturally heeded his words, smilingly agreeing to fulfill her promise. Seeing the matter resolved, Xiao Muran left a few parting words and excused himself, claiming prior engagements. The princess, seeing him depart, vented her frustration at Qing Xue before hurrying after him. After they left, Jiu rushed over and took Qing Xue's hand, relieved that Xiao Muran had intervened. Qing Xue, however, suspected this was no coincidence. She believed Xiao Muran had been watching her all along and hadn't truly left. Unseen, Xiao Muran continued to observe Qing Xue. In truth, during his observation of Qing Xue, he hadn't found anything amiss. 1 month later, in the dark forest, a tremendous crash echoed through the trees. Qing Xue had cleaved a massive boulder in two. She had spent the past month at Yinwu Hall, comprehending the principles of the 5 elements and their interplay, creating a technique she named Duan Qingquan. Suddenly, a sound like a beast running reached her ears. Suspecting the presence of a spirit beast, Qing Xue turned and was startled by the appearance of a silver-haired old man. It was Venerable Feng Bufan. Close behind him, a monstrous wolf with a ferocious visage and bared fangs pursued him relentlessly. Feng Bufan turned, a triumphant grin spreading across his face as he mocked the beast for falling into his trap. In the next instant, yellow battle qi formed a circle, ensnaring the wolf. The wolf howled, struggling fiercely against the binding energy. Feng Bufan dangled a magic crystal, attempting to entice the beast into submission. However, the wolf's eyes glowed red, and it refused the old man's offer. The beast renewed its efforts to break free, determined to make the old man pay. Seeing the situation turn sour, Feng Bufan quickly summoned his battle qi to defend against the wolf's counterattack. Hidden behind a tree, Qing Xue observed the fight. Impressed by the beast's strength, she considered claiming it for herself. Feng Bufan, overwhelmed by the wolf's power, crashed to the ground, bracing for the final blow. Qing Xue realized that the beast's attention was solely on Feng Bufan. This was her opportunity. She unleashed her own battle qi, a vibrant display of power. Swiftly and precisely, she bound the beast. Then, with an unhurried gait, Qing Xue emerged from behind the tree and stood before the wolf. Her gaze unwavering, she promised the beast that if it submitted to her, she would lead it to the pinnacle of power. The beast, having never encountered such a powerful human, understood that submission would be a wise and beneficial choice. The beast bowed its head in submission, pledging its loyalty to Qingxue. Qingxue approached the beast, cut her palm, and let her blood drip onto its head, forming a contract. As the contract was sealed, the bonds that held the beast vanished. Qingxue placed her hand on the beast's snout. A golden light emanated from the point of contact, swirling around Qingxue and the beast. Two streams of blue battle qi flowed from the beast into Qingxue's wrist. Feng Bufan, watching from the sidelines, was astonished. Qingxue, so young, was already a first-level battle master. Qingxue named the beast Black Wolf and gave it a medicinal pill to aid its cultivation. Black Wolf was overjoyed, surprised by his new master's generosity. Seeing Qingxue with so many incredible artifacts, Feng Bufan couldn't contain his excitement. He latched onto her, suggesting that directly snatching the spirit beast wasn't proper. He then offered to take Qingxue as his disciple, promising to impart all his knowledge. Faced with Feng Bufan's proposal, Qingxue didn't hesitate. She simply turned and walked away, stating her disinterest. In her eyes, Feng Bufan, despite his cultivation, lacked intelligence. She didn't want such a dim-witted person as her master. Seeing Qingxue's indifference, Feng Bufan grew anxious. He hastily listed a string of benefits to becoming his disciple. However, Qingxue remained unmoved, refusing his offer and leaving without a backward glance. Black Wolf, still harboring resentment from Feng Bufan's month-long challenge, suggested to Qingxue that they eat him. Qingxue wagged 2 fingers, refusing, and reminded him not to eat random things. Undeterred by the rejection, Feng Bufan vowed that the next time he encountered Qingxue, he would make her his disciple. After walking for a while, Qingxue suddenly stopped. She told Black Wolf that it wasn't convenient for him to carry her in his current size. She asked if he could become smaller. Black Wolf affirmed, stating it was entirely possible. With a loud boom and a cloud of dust, Black Wolf transformed, shrinking to the size of a husky. Qingxue was captivated by Black Wolf's adorable appearance. She burst into laughter, praising him for being so wonderful. As night fell, Qingxue lay peacefully in bed, drifting off to sleep, while Black Wolf curled up beside her. Suddenly, Yechin emerged from a teleportation array, shattering the tranquility. Black Wolf's sharp hearing caught the unusual sound, instantly rousing him from sleep. He Ly questioned Yechin's identity. Yechin grabbed Black Wolf by the scruff of his neck, effortlessly lifting him. With a glance, he confirmed Black Wolf's gender, then decisively tossed him out the window, warning him to stay away from Qingxue. Black Wolf, sensing Yechin's powerful aura, thought, as long as my master is safe, I'll look out for myself. Having dealt with Black Wolf, Yechin naturally climbed into bed beside Qingxue, gently drawing her into his embrace. Sleeping soundly, Qingxue was enveloped by this sudden warmth, aware of something holding her. Sensing something amiss, Qingxue slowly opened her eyes. To her surprise, she found herself gazing into the familiar face of Yechin. Seeing her awake, Yechin began to preen, admiring his own appearance. Instead of arguing, Qingxue complimented his looks. This made Yechin believe she was accepting him as her husband, and he beamed with delight. However, Qingxue suddenly straightened, as if remembering something. She turned, puzzled, asking how Yechin could have finished his closed-door cultivation so quickly when he'd just begun a few days ago. She also realized that Yechin's happiness stemmed from her unconscious acknowledgement of him as her husband. He explained that the herbs Qingxue had transplanted had not only repaired his soul, but also strengthened his spirit. Hearing this, Qingxue recalled the rare herbs she had found and placed in her spatial storage. She hadn't realized they would be so beneficial to Yechin. With this in mind, she decided to take Yechin to the dark forest. Suddenly, he turned, his gaze deep as he expressed his agreement. The sudden intense eye contact made Qingxue blush. She instinctively nestled into his embrace. Seeing this, Yechin smiled with a hint of indulgence, teasing her about throwing herself at him. Flustered, Qingxue threatened to send him back to his own space if he continued his nonsense. Exasperated and embarrassed, Qingxue pointed out that not only had he climbed into her bed and embraced her, but he was now teasing her. Knowing when to stop, Oyechen immediately ceased his teasing. The next morning, Qingxue awoke from her sleep. Sitting up, she found that Oyechen, who had been lying beside her, was gone, having quietly returned to his own quarters. She got up and opened the door, thinking of finding Black Wolf, but couldn't locate him. She wondered where he had run off to. As class time approached, Qingxue figured Black Wolf wouldn't be in any danger and decided to attend class, planning to search for him later. Inside the Yinwu Hall, students from various classes lined up in orderly rows behind their respective class banners. Only Qingxue stood apart. Baiming Yinjue, noticing this, curled her lip in disdain, sneering at Qingxue for being a lone wolf. Qingxue ignored the taunts and kindly reminded Baiming Yinjue that it was time to clean the Huannan Academy latrines. Upon hearing this, everyone burst into laughter, praising Qingxue's sharp wit. Baiming Yinjue, feeling unprecedented humiliation, flew into a rage and sharply ordered everyone to shut up. Just then, the dean entered the Yinwu Hall and witnessed the scene. His face darkened, and he scolded the students. Seeing this, Ji Rue seized the opportunity to sidle up to the dean and whisper a fabricated account of the incident, placing the blame squarely on Qingxue. Ji Rue's motive was clear: to use the dean to make Qingxue's life difficult, avenging his deceased nephew. The dean believed Qingxue to be nothing more than a pretty face, and even suspected she had bewitched Tianyu to gain entry into the academy. Qingxue, likewise, held no fondness for the dean. The two stood in silent confrontation. Ji Rue opportunely reminded the dean that it was time to proceed and advised him not to let insignificant people upset him. The dean cast a contemptuous glance at Qingxue, resolving not to allow his only direct disciple to be influenced by her. The dean then walked to his seat at the head of the hall. After surveying the room, he announced that the time had come to open the Spirit Ruins Gate. Ji Rue, wielding his battle artifact, opened the gate with the assistance of two others. At that moment, the purple dust cauldron on Qingxue's hand seemed to react, vibrating slightly. She quickly covered it with her other hand. This sparked a flicker of suspicion within her. The purple dust cauldron was connected to the Linshu somehow. She privately speculated that the forbidden ground her grandmother had spoken of must be within the Linshu. Suddenly, gasps rippled through the hall. Everyone witnessed an incredible sight. Linghu Yudi, clad in flowing white robes, emerged from the mysterious depths of the Linshu, riding a majestic lion. Seeing Yudi, Qingxue recalled the time she had been bullied and falsely accused of stealing by Yameng and Qiluo. Yudi had sat there, leisurely sipping tea, coldly observing the whole ordeal. Qingxue thought to herself that despite Yudi's ethereal appearance, she was, in reality, cold and unfeeling. Applause erupted within the Yinwu Hall. Ji Rue led the ovation, enthusiastically welcoming the elite disciple's return. He then formally announced that Linghu Yudi, the leader of the expedition, would share her experiences. As soon as Ji Rue finished speaking, another wave of thunderous applause filled the Yinwu Hall. Baiming Yinjue also clapped enthusiastically, her eyes shining with admiration for Yudi, finding her incredibly impressive. Seeing Baiming Yinjue's infatuation, Qingxue couldn't help but mutter idiot under her breath. Linghu Yudi faced the crowd and began a profound and moving speech about her experiences. After listening to Linghu Yudi's speech, the dean beamed with approval, praising her as a remarkable young talent. Then, under the watchful gaze of everyone present, he solemnly declared Yudi to be his second direct disciple. Upon hearing this, Linghu Yudi's face lit up with a radiant smile, her eyes sparkling with excitement and gratitude. She stepped forward and bowed deeply to the dean, thanking him for his guidance. After class, the students gathered, discussing Yudi's outstanding performance with admiration and respect. Upon learning that Yudi would be visiting the Department of Literature and History for an exchange, Baiming Yinjue immediately rose, declaring her intention to greet her at the entrance. Speak of the devil, and she shall appear. Yudi had already arrived at the Department of Literature and History. Overjoyed, Baiming Yinjue immediately rushed forward and took Yudi's arm, welcoming her arrival. While everyone else enthusiastically greeted Yudi, Qingxue sat at her desk reading, conspicuously aloof. Witnessing this, Baiming Yinjue mocked Qingxue for being incompetent and lacking basic manners. Qingxue calmly closed her book and retorted that it was better than being someone's lapdog. Qingxue's words stung Baiming Yinjue's pride. She threatened to exterminate Qingshue's entire family. Yudi patted Baiming Yinjue's shoulder, urging her to calm down and promising to discipline her younger sister later. Baiming Yinjue suddenly remembered that they were cousins and that she had almost threatened to exterminate her idol. Yudi ordered Qingxue to apologize to the princess immediately. Qingxue told Yudi to stop playing peacemaker, pointing out that the whole incident was her fault to begin with. Qingxue's blatant disrespect for Yudi caused murmurs to ripple through the crowd. Yudi stared in disbelief. Could this arrogant beauty truly be her naturally weak-veined cousin, Qingxue? Qingxue challenged Yudi, asking if she had said anything wrong. Yudi glared at Qingxue, her anger simmering from the crown prince's earlier intervention on Qingshue's behalf. Yudi fought back her fury, reminding herself that patience was key to her grand plan. She couldn't afford to compromise her outward grace. With a gentle tone, she apologized to Qingxue, admitting her fault and offering to have Daiwei apologize to the princess as well. No sooner had the words left her lips than she turned and bowed in apology to Baiming Yinjue. The princess rushed forward to help her up, insisting that Yudi was not at fault and needn't apologize on Qingshue's behalf. Suddenly, a string of silver coins landed with a crisp, jingling sound at their feet. It was Qingshue's doing, a pointedly sarcastic reward for Yudi's impeccable performance. Never before had Yudi been so demeaned by money. Her entire body trembled with rage. She thought only actors were paid off like that. The princess, witnessing this, angrily pointed at Qingxue, scolding her. A useless waste like her didn't deserve to be Yudi's cousin. Qingxue, who had been gathering her books, slowly stood and prepared to leave. As she passed the princess, Qingxue remarked that she had no desire to be Yudi's cousin. If the princess wanted the title so badly, she could have it. With that, Qingxue departed with an air of nonchalant defiance. Everyone stood frozen, exchanging bewildered glances. Could Qingxue truly be the weak, useless girl they'd heard so much about? Yudi seethed with regret, realizing she had underestimated Qingxue. She would need to devise a proper plan to ensure Qingxue suffered a gruesome end. Qingxue had just returned to her dormitory when Black Wolf came rushing to greet her, tears streaming down his face in a display of utter despair. Between sobs, Black Wolf explained to a comforting Qingxue that he had been thrown out the previous night by the suddenly appearing Oyechen for being male. Qingxue broke out in a cold sweat, her expression a mask of awkwardness. She soothed Black Wolf, telling him not to worry and promising to take him somewhere nice. Using a teleportation array, Qingxue brought Black Wolf to the Azure Sky Galaxy Wall, telling him to cultivate there from now on. This was an unexpected boon. Black Wolf hadn't realized Qingxue could physically enter her personal space. Preparing for class, Qingxue called for Yun Kei, instructing her to show Black Wolf around and help him find a suitable cultivation spot. Before leaving, Qingxue reminded them to get along. Astonished by the rich spiritual energy within the space, Black Wolf took off running, ignoring Yun Kei's calls. Back at Yinwu Hall, Qingxue snuck off to examine the mural while the others were in class, hoping to uncover the secrets hidden within. Studying the mural carefully, she noticed it depicted the guardian deities of the 5 elements. As a wielder of all 5 elements, Qingxue believed she might be able to open the gate to Linshu. She placed her palm against the mural. For an instant, the mural erupted in 5 dazzling beams of light before falling silent once more. Qingxue understood. Her cultivation was still too weak to open the gate to Linshu. She would have to train harder to fulfill her grandmother's dying wish. With a determined gaze, Qingxue vowed before the mural that she would return. Turning to leave, she collided with a solid wall of flesh, crying out in pain. Stumbling back, Qingxue realized it was Xiao Muron. When had he arrived? His gaze was sharp as a sword as he demanded to know what connection she had to the demon race. Startled by Xiao Muron's sudden appearance, Qingxue could only stare as he questioned her relationship with the demon race. He explained that aside from the 5 elemental energies, only the demon race's heavenly pulse inheritance could react to the mural. Qingxue tried to deflect, claiming he was mistaken and that she didn't even know what the demon race was. The man clearly didn't believe her, stating that he wasn't yet senile. He grabbed her hand, declaring they would conduct a test. In the next instant, they stood before a bronze mirror on the 2nd floor of Yinwu Hall. Confused, Qingxue asked what he was doing. Xiao Muron raised his hand and cast a spell into the mirror, its surface rippling. He instructed her to place her hand upon it. As Qingxue touched the mirror, it shimmered again. To her astonishment, the reflected light began to coalesce, revealing scenes from the modern world. Then, a group of figures clad in black appeared. Her past life flashed across the mirror's surface. The figures in black were chasing her. Frightened, Qingxue stumbled back. Was her secret about to be exposed? Behind the robust figure, Xiao Muron finally confirmed that he wasn't a demon. However, doubts lingered about his past life and identity. How could such strange scenes have appeared? Aware that he had been wrongly suspecting him all along and hindered by male pride, Xiao Muron found it difficult to admit his mistake. He could only use the excuse that it was lunchtime and promptly left with him. In the dining hall, out of guilt, Xiao Muron continuously piled portions of his own meat into Qingxue's bowl. This scene of them chatting and laughing, however, was witnessed by a meddlesome observer. Within moments, the whole incident, embellished and exaggerated, spread like wildfire. Later that evening, Qingxue walked alone through the woods. She couldn't believe that simply having lunch with her mentor had sparked such gossip. Suddenly, two familiar figures appeared ahead. It was Nangong Rui and Lin Xiaoyang. Nangong Rui's face was etched with displeasure. Clearly, he believed the rumors that Qingxue was not only involved with the crown prince, but also with Xiao Muron. Qingxue caught up with the pair, offering a light greeting to Lin Xiaoyang, completely ignoring Nangong Rui. Seeing this, Nangong Rui flew into a rage, taking his anger out on a small tree branch by the roadside. With a single exertion of force, he crushed the branch into splinters, seething inwardly. How dare Ling Hu Qingxue disregard him so completely? Seeing his furious state, Lin Xiaoyang stepped forward and asked if he was all right. Nangong Rui's eyes glinted with malice. Qingxue's disregard had pushed his anger to the boiling point. Meanwhile, the rumors about Qingxue and Xiao Muron had reached the dean's ears. After venting his rage, he calmed down and instructed Ji Rui to send a letter to Crown Prince Baiming Tianyu explaining the matter. He was determined to let the Crown Prince know what kind of woman Ling Hu Qingxue truly was. The scene shifted to an ethereal, dreamlike environment. A small dog ran joyfully. After running for most of the day, he lay down, sighing contentedly. Cultivating in such an environment was truly wonderful. Suddenly, a figure appeared before him. The dog opened his eyes and immediately panicked. It was Oyechen again, that terrifying man. Why did he keep encountering this plague wherever he went? Oyechen, equally displeased by the celestial beast, conjured a warning spell telling Black Wolf to leave. Just then, the teleportation array lit up and Ling Hu Qingxue stepped through. Seeing his master appear, Black Wolf rushed towards her as if she were his savior, nestling in her arms and complaining about Oyechen's cruelty. Before he could finish, the man grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and lifted him away from Qingxue's embrace. After casually tossing Black Wolf aside, Oyechen, his voice laced with jealousy, asked Qingxue if she had enjoyed her lunch. Qingxue retorted that who she dined with was her own business. His interference was overbearing. Saying this, she turned to go, intending to read and avoid the jealous man. Before she could leave, however, Oyechen caught her hand. He pulled her back, drawing her into his arms. Before Qingxue could react, Oyechen kissed her deeply, warning her jealously not to get so close to other men again. Caught off guard by the forced kiss, Qingxue was initially flustered. When she finally regained her composure, she bit him hard and pushed him away. Furious, she demanded to know if she had been too kind to him lately. The man responded shamelessly that as her husband, her kindness was his due. However, in the next moment, Qingxue showed him the error of his ways, making him beg for mercy. Seeing his sincere apology, she released his face, which she had been pinching, and declared that becoming her husband wouldn't be so easy. She would only marry the strongest man in the world. She told him to go cultivate for another 10 or 8 years. Watching her departing figure, Oyechen was filled with confidence. He wouldn't need that long. Having witnessed the entire scene, Black Wolf finally saw his chance to taunt Oyechen. He had just begun to call him an arrogant fool when he was once again kicked away like trash. The next morning, Qingxue, who had spent the entire night reading in her dormitory, was preparing for class. Just then, Hua Shi, holding her cousin Jiu'er, rushed in. Panicked, she told Qing Xue that something had happened to Jiu'er and begged her to save him. Looking at Jiu'er, who was barely clinging to life, Qing Xue was shocked. Who could have done this to him? Her anger grew with each passing moment. Her beautiful eyes flashed with fury. She silently vowed to find the culprit and avenge Jiu'er. Gently laying Jiu'er on the bed, she began to examine him. Behind her, Huashe recounted what had happened. He had just gone to the wood element building to find his cousin, Jiu'er. Upon entering, he found him covered in blood, hanging from a beam. Meanwhile, Qing Xue had finished examining Jiu'er. His injuries were severe. His dantian was crippled. Qing Xue could only open a portal, taking them to the azure sky galaxy wall. Only there would they be completely safe, and it would be easier for her to heal him. Huashe watched in astonishment as she opened the portal. Possessing a spatial artifact was rare enough, but for Qing Xue to enter it physically was truly unbelievable. As the three of them stepped through, Black Wolf came forward. Qing Xue instructed him and Yunkei to gather herbs for refining the Yuan Lin pill. Huashe was shocked again. Only celestial beasts could speak. Even Princess Baiming Yinjue only possessed a high-level spirit beast. They then arrived at the octagonal tower, where Qing Xue was concentrating on refining the pill. Huashe watched her, thinking it only natural she was an alchemist. After all, someone who possessed a spatial artifact and a celestial beast was truly extraordinary. Soon, the pill was refined, and Qing Xue instructed him to give it to Jiu'er. After Huashe administered the pill, Jiu'er quickly regained consciousness. He cried and threw himself into his cousin's arms. Qing Xue again asked who had inflicted such injuries. Jiu'er tearfully recounted the events. Princess Baiming Yinjue had kidnapped him and forced him to frame Qing Xue. Because he refused, he was beaten. Upon hearing this, Qing Xue immediately promised to avenge him. Jiu'er worried that, as a princess, she was someone they couldn't afford to offend. Qing Xue reassured him and told him to stay and cultivate. Once his cultivation improved, he could return for revenge. Whether it was Princess Baiming Yinjue or the Emperor, she would avenge any wrong. The scene shifted to the Dark Night Forest. Qing Xue emerged from the portal, followed by Yechen. Qing Xue, however, didn't intend to stay with him. She told him the Yin energy here was beneficial and that he should remain while she went elsewhere to train. Furthermore, his powerful aura would scare away the magical beasts, so she couldn't take him along. Yechen, seeing he had no choice, instructed her to seek him out at the Azure Sky Galaxy Wall if anything happened. After she left, he spoke to the darkness, telling whoever was hiding to reveal themselves. Xiao Muron emerged, surprised to find him still alive. Yechen didn't respond, instead mocking him for violating the Celestial Realm's laws by coming to the Path of Illusions, despite being the holy son of the Xiamen War sect. Xiao Muron explained that it was the Holy Emperor's command, the will of heaven. He was here to find the prophesied demon despiser with the power of the 5 elements. Yechen scoffed, unconvinced. He mocked the Holy Emperor for fabricating such an absurd excuse to protect his own interests. Hearing him blaspheme against the Holy Emperor, Xiao Muron flew into a rage, declaring he would uphold heaven's will and destroy his soul. With that, he launched an attack at Yechen. The man seemed completely unconcerned. A smirk played on his lips as he mocked Xiao Muron's overconfidence, promising to show him just how weak he was. Elsewhere, Qing Xue, having just slain a large magical beast, was catching her breath. Suddenly, a powerful surge of energy erupted. Sensing it came from Yechen, she rushed towards its source. By now, Xiao Muron was losing. The heavy Yin energy favored Yechen, a spirit, allowing him to easily manipulate it. He needed to find a way to counter this. But Yechen didn't give him the chance, launching another attack with a resounding boom. Hearing the sound, Qing Xue, still rushing towards them, grew more anxious, praying nothing had happened. Finally, she arrived at the scene. Seeing Yechen unharmed, she breathed a sigh of relief. However, upon seeing the other person, she tensed again. She hadn't expected the one fighting Yechen to be her mentor, Xiao Muron. Xiao Muron was now incapacitated. He hadn't expected Yechen, even as a soul, to be so powerful. Yechen, showing no mercy, prepared to finish him off. Just then, Qing Xue rushed forward, shielding him. Seeing this, Yechen was displeased. He asked Qing Xue if she couldn't bear to see him die. Qing Xue replied that Xiao Muron was her teacher and had saved her life several times. She couldn't be ungrateful. Seeing her insistence, Yechen set a condition. She had to be a proper fiancée from now on. Having received her promise, Oyechen's face lit up with a smile, and he prepared to leave. Watching his figure slowly dissipate, Qingxue worried that if he lingered any longer, the sun would rise. If his soul were damaged by the sunlight, it would be troublesome. But Xiaomuran was still concerned about Qingxue, pointing out that she shouldn't have agreed to Oyechen's condition. Qingxue reassured him and offered to escort him back. She was relieved that everyone was all right. Soon, she helped the injured Xiaomuran back to the academy. They happened to run into Crown Prince Baiming Tianyu and Linghu Yudi. After the two of them gave Xiaomuran a once-over, Linghu Yudi hypocritically asked Qingxue if she was settling in well. It turned out the scheming woman wanted to use Qingxue to get closer to the Crown Prince. But Qingxue had no desire to play along with her charade. She went straight to the Crown Prince and inquired about his well-being. Watching Qingxue and the Crown Prince chatting amicably, Linghu Yudi seethed with jealousy. She cursed inwardly, wondering how a good-for-nothing like Linghu Qingxue could earn the Crown Prince's favor. She vowed that she wouldn't let Qingxue stand in her way of becoming the Crown Princess. Just then, Baiming Tianyu took a letter from his pocket. It turned out that he had visited the Duke's mansion earlier, and Qingxue's younger brother, Linghu Xianqing, had entrusted him with delivering it. Qingxue was touched that her brother had written to her. However, Linghu Yudi couldn't stand to watch them continue their conversation any longer. Mentioning that the headmaster was waiting, she announced their departure. Baiming Tianyu had no choice but to bid Qingxue farewell and leave. In the headmaster's office, the headmaster loudly praised Linghu Yudi, claiming she was 100 times better than Linghu Qingxue. But Baiming Tianyu vehemently defended Qingxue, insisting she wasn't as the headmaster perceived her. His words were met with a roar from the headmaster. He believed the entire academy was rife with rumors about Linghu Qingxue and refused to believe he was slandering her. Upon hearing this, Linghu Yudi put on her innocent act once more, claiming that Qingxue was simply young and naive. She pleaded with the headmaster to give her another chance. Seeing both his disciples defending Linghu Qingxue, the headmaster relented for the time being. However, he demanded that Yudi and the Crown Prince cultivate together from that day forward, inseparable, or face his wrath. Linghu Yudi readily agreed, while Baiming Tianyu looked distinctly unhappy. The scene shifted to the literature classroom, where Qingxue was reading her brother's letter. The letter stated that everything was peaceful at home and that the Juesha sect had expanded to 40 or 50 members. Suddenly, Xiaomuran's arrival interrupted her. He informed Qingxue that he would be tutoring her individually in cultivation, starting that evening. He had spent the morning thinking and concluded that only by becoming stronger could Qingxue break free from the shackles of her engagement to Oyechen. Qingxue hesitated, feeling it was improper, but Xiaomuran told her not to worry, assuring her he had it all planned out. He arranged to meet her that night in the Dark Night Forest. Her teacher's unilateral decision troubled Qingxue. She had just managed to separate him and Oyechen that morning, and now they were going to be together again at night. Hidden in the shadows, Princess Baiming Yinjue overheard everything, her teeth grinding in fury. She couldn't believe Xiaomuran was giving Linghu Qingxue special tutoring. Night quickly fell. Qingxue was recounting the whole story to Black Wolf. She was torn about whether or not to meet Xiaomuran alone. Just as Black Wolf was advising her to feign illness, the sudden appearance of Oyechen startled both girl and dog. Qingxue didn't want to speak to him and got up to leave. Though he couldn't force her to stay, Oyechen had other methods. He had 1,000 ways to make the dog talk. Sensing the man's dangerous aura, Black Wolf immediately spilled the beans about Xiaomuran's private tutoring sessions with Qingxue. Learning the truth, Oyechen seethed with jealousy. Meanwhile, Qingxue, walking down the path, suddenly felt herself lifted off her feet. Oyechen had swept her into his arms. She struggled violently, demanding to know what he intended to do. In no time at all, Oyechen carried Qingxue into a room and tossed her onto the bed. Infuriated by his rough handling, Qingxue lashed out, demanding to know what he thought he was doing and ordering him to release her or face her eternal hatred. She gave him a choice: let her go or bear the consequences. Looking down at her on the bed, Oyechen spoke with unyielding firmness. Since she had agreed to be a dutiful fiancée, she wasn't going anywhere tonight. Qingxue finally understood. His jealousy had flared up again, and so the argument began, echoing through the room. Half an hour later, Qing Xue, exhausted from the quarrel, had fallen fast asleep. Oyechen watched over her with a tender gaze. This confinement lasted for 7 days. On the 7th day, Qing Xue noticed Oyechen's absence and prepared to sneak out. Suddenly, a figure appeared before her, startling her. Seeing him watching her every move, Qing Xue bristled with anger. She told him not to be so unreasonable. Keeping her locked up like this was absurd. Seeing her desperation to leave, Oyechen proposed a wager. If she could advance to a level 2 battle master within 2 months, he would release her. He knew the dangers that lurked outside, the various factions that posed a threat to her. Everything he did was for her protection. Hearing his terms, Qing Xue readily agreed, locking their promise with a pinky swear. She vowed to uphold her end of the bargain. Meanwhile, Xiao Muron had spent the past 7 days searching the entire academy for Qing Xue to no avail. He had requested an extended leave from the dean to continue his search, hoping to find her. Suddenly, 2 figures emerged and bowed before him. Sent by the Holy Emperor, they requested his immediate return to the sect. Xiao Muron cast a final glance back at the academy, silently praying for Qing Xue's safety before departing with the disciples. The Holy Emperor must have had an urgent reason to summon him back. Meanwhile, Ling Huyudi, Qing Xue, and Oyechen were locked in a heated sparring match. Oyechen, his power suppressed, was quickly defeated. He marveled at the strength of her battle prowess. He hadn't expected her power to grow so significantly in just 2 months. Seeing his astonishment, Qing Xue declared triumphantly that she was now a level 2 battle master and demanded her freedom. True to his word, Oyechen agreed to release her. The next moment, Qing Xue, free after 2 months of confinement, stretched luxuriously as she walked. She was finally out. She felt like she had been suffocating. Passing by the training grounds, she heard the sounds of someone still practicing inside. It was Princess Baiming Yinjue, still diligently honing her skills for the upcoming examination. Qing Xue watched discreetly from the sidelines, a plan beginning to form in her mind. A short while later, she returned to the azure sky galaxy wall. Jiu'er and Huashi were reading. Seeing her enter, the cousins greeted her warmly and invited her to join them for tea. Qing Xue revealed that she had formulated a plan for revenge against Baiming Yinjue, but warned them that it might endanger their families. However, both Jiu'er and Huashi expressed their unwavering support, refusing to back down. After all, Jiu'er had nearly lost his life. Heartened by their resolve, Qing Xue instructed them to prepare themselves. Tomorrow, they would confront Baiming Yinjue and settle the score. The next day arrived quickly. Outside the Huanan Academy's research hall, Ling Huyudi appeared alone, unconcerned by the stares of the onlookers. The dean questioned her whereabouts for the past 2 months, inwardly deciding to expel her if her excuse wasn't satisfactory. Seemingly anticipating this, Qing Xue calmly explained that she had been training with Master Tumi and had only just returned last night. The dean scoffed, accusing her of lying. As a known talentless individual, Master Tumi would never take her as a disciple. He challenged her to produce Master Tumi's super energy potion as proof or face the consequences of her deception. Qing Xue calmly countered, asking what would happen if she could indeed produce the potion. The dean, with a grand gesture, declared that if she succeeded, she could name her reward. Having received the desired response, a confident smile played on Qing Xue's lips. She seemed to have everything under control. Meanwhile, inside the Yinwu Hall, a crowd had gathered, anticipating the spectacle. With practiced ease, Qing Xue began refining the herbs before her, her movements precise and deliberate. Ling Huyudi watched from within the crowd. Seeing Qing Xue casually toss the ingredients into the cauldron, she scoffed, convinced it was all an act. After all, true alchemists approach their craft with meticulous care. But the vindication came swiftly. The next moment, the aroma of medicine wafted from Qing Xue's cauldron. Smelling the aroma of the medicine, the headmaster began to grow tense. Then, Qing Xue gently poured the finished medicinal liquid into a bottle. Success! And those students who had used Master Tumi's energy liquid Fun Baosher declared that this was practically identical to the previous one. Seeing this, the headmaster knew that sending her away today would be impossible. At this moment, Qing Xue, while shaking the bottle containing the medicinal liquid, spoke up. The energy liquid was refined, and now it was the headmaster's turn to fulfill his promise. With everyone present, the headmaster naturally couldn't go back on his word, so he asked what her conditions were. Qing Xue told him that she hoped he would permit her, Hua Shi, and Jiang Jiao to directly enter Class A. Upon hearing this, the headmaster immediately refused. Class A only accepted elites. Everyone entered based on their strength through selection. Seeing his predictable refusal, Qing Xue immediately questioned him, asking if he intended to renege on his promise. Forced into a corner, the headmaster could only bellow that if they truly wanted to enter Class A, they would have to compete with the other examinees tomorrow and earn their place through merit. Having received the answer she desired, Qing Xue stood up, satisfied, and told him that tomorrow they would participate in the examination based on their abilities. She hoped he would keep his word this time. However, all of this was within Qing Xue's expectations. She already had a plan for tomorrow, confident in its success. Soon, the arena the next day was packed with people. Everyone was discussing the competition. Because of Qing Xue's group's sudden participation, the number of spots in Class A had been reduced from 10 to 3. Seeing Yuri standing beside Headmaster Zhuge Qi, maintaining order, Qing Xue directly mocked him as the headmaster's lapdog. She also didn't care about the others' gossip. However, Princess Baiming Yinjue, standing behind her, was furious at Qing Xue and her group, especially at Jiang Jiao. He had clearly suffered such severe injuries, yet now he was full of life. She couldn't understand how this was possible. With the headmaster's command, the examination officially began. Baiming Yinjue was the first to charge forward, and the others followed suit. It turned out they had already planned to gang up on Qing Xue, Hua Shi, and Jiang Jiao. Baiming Yinjue launched her strongest attack right from the start. Over the past 2 months, she had been training with Linghu Yudi, and her cultivation had greatly improved. She was confident she could defeat Qing Xue with a single blow. Qing Xue calmly faced all of this, mocking the so-called elites as nothing more than this. Then, a powerful battle aura erupted from around her. In the next second, all those who had besieged her were thrown back. Baiming Yinjue also fell to the ground with a thud, suffering significant injuries. Everyone was stunned. They hadn't expected someone with a crippled meridian to be so powerful. Qing Xue then spoke, instructing Hua Shi and Jiang Jiao to throw everyone except Princess Baiming Yinjue out of the arena. As soon as she finished speaking, Hua Shi and Jiang Jiao rushed forward, directly attacking the other contestants behind Baiming Yinjue. One by one, they sent them flying out of the arena. During their 2 months at the Azure Sky Galaxy Wall, Jiang Jiao and Hua Shi had been diligently cultivating. These students were no longer their match. Baiming Yinjue knew this couldn't continue. Suddenly, she saw an opportunity and lunged at Jiang Jiao. Caught off guard, Jiang Jiao was seized by her. Seeing this, Qing Xue tried to rush over to help, but she was too far away and could do nothing. Hua Shi was also blocked by others and couldn't get through for the moment. Baiming Yinjue had Jiang Jiao firmly in her grasp and was preparing to finish him off. Just as Jiang Jiao, his throat tightly constricted, was about to lose consciousness. At this critical juncture, he disregarded everything and mustered his battle chi, striking Baiming Yinjue. Hit in a vital spot, Baiming Yinjue immediately collapsed to the ground. She died, unable to believe that a commoner dared to attack her. At the same time, Qing Xue and Hua Shi finally reached Jiang Jiao's side, anxiously asking if he was all right. Seeing that the 3 of them had killed the princess, the headmaster immediately ordered them to be arrested and sent to the imperial capital for the emperor's judgment. But before Zhuge Qi could finish speaking, Linghu Yudi charged forward and summoned his golden lion beast. In the next second, a male lion leaped out from the magic array, bearing its fangs. Qing Xue, not to be outdone, summoned her black wolf from the Azure Sky Galaxy Wall. Seeing the husky-like black wolf, Linghu Yudi scoffed, believing that this small, pathetic dog couldn't possibly defeat his ultimate spirit beast. With that, he commanded the golden lion beast to charge forward and crush the black wolf. Looking at the beast rushing towards him, the black wolf rolled its eyes. A lion delivered right to its doorstep could only mean one thing: it had to be killed. After all, its master didn't allow it to snack indiscriminately. In the next second, he opened his mouth and roared. A powerful wave of sound erupted, instantly blasting the lion beast into the air. Linghu Yudi's spirit beast, the spirit fox butterfly, was also thrown back, coughing up blood. He then realized the lion beast was undeniably dead. Because of the contract he'd formed with the beast, he suffered the backlash. Now, the woman burned with an even fiercer desire to kill Qingxue. After all, she had painstakingly tamed the lion beast. With a furious cry, Linghu Yudi gathered her energy, a weapon forming in her hand, and charged. But what met her charge wasn't Qingxue, but a massive paw. The black wolf revealed its true form, a colossal beast with bared fangs, shielding Qingxue. Seeing this, Linghu Yudi realized she faced a celestial beast. Just as the black wolf prepared to attack, a green battle flag lashed out, forcing the wolf to retreat. It was Dean Zhugeqi, intervening to save his beloved student. Accusing Qingxue of blatant murder, he declared his intent to punish her, upholding the prestige of Huanan Academy. But Qingxue reminded him of his earlier promise, arguing that punishing her would damage the Academy's reputation instead. But the dean was deaf to her words. He ordered the 10 grand mentors to seize her. Qingxue knew the mentors were formidable. It seemed that escaping today would require consuming a potent pill to forcibly break through. Just as the battle was about to erupt, a shabbily dressed elder stepped in front of Qingxue. She was surprised to see him come to her aid again. Upon seeing the elder, the dean and the others immediately knelt. The elder was the successor of the Academy's founder, the Venerable Feng. Venerable Feng had arrived to save Qingxue, intending to take her as his disciple. But Qingxue hadn't agreed yet, and even extended a hand to refuse his affectionate gesture. Seeing his potential disciple seemingly upset, Venerable Feng decided to take her side. Zhugeqi hastily explained that his actions were due to Princess Baiming Yinjue's death and the need to give the Baiming Empire an explanation. But Venerable Feng was unconcerned. The 4 great academies were independent of any nation. He demoted Zhugeqi to a menial position in the library. Knowing he couldn't change the Venerable Feng's decision, Zhugeqi bowed his head and accepted his fate, not daring to speak further. After dealing with Zhugeqi, Venerable Feng asked Qingxue if she was satisfied. Seeing how he defended her, Qingxue thought that becoming his disciple might not be so bad. Hearing his potential disciple finally agree, the old man grinned from ear to ear. Linghu Yudi, watching from the side, ground her teeth in frustration. Qingxue had once again stolen her spotlight. Venerable Feng excitedly took Qingxue's hand, saying he would take her somewhere special. With everyone watching, they left the arena. Soon, he brought her to his residence, the Orchid Azure courtyard. He told her that everything there was a gift for her. Looking at the treasures before her, Qingxue realized her new master was quite wealthy. Venerable Feng then presented her with a book titled Inverse Qianquan, calling it a valuable treasure. Qingxue thanked him and accepted the book. She discovered it was an advanced battle technique manual. Even Linghu Yudi only cultivated a low-level technique. She immediately asked him to explain the key principles of the technique. Venerable Feng, impressed by her eagerness to learn, praised her potential. For the next 7 days, Qingxue diligently cultivated the inverse Qianquan technique. She discovered many similarities between it and her own Duan Qianquan technique. Venerable Feng was extremely pleased with his disciple. Not only was she gifted, but also incredibly hardworking. Having imparted all he could for now, he decided to let her enter secluded cultivation. Thus, after becoming Venerable Feng's disciple, the studious Qingxue began to cultivate day and night. Oyechen emerged for the azure sky galaxy wall, searching for her. Learning she was cultivating, he didn't disturb her. Instead, he often watched her quietly from afar. They say a woman is most beautiful when she's focused, and watching Qingxue so absorbed in her studies, Yechen had become utterly smitten. A month later, Qing Shue had synthesized the inverse Qianquan and Duan Qianquan techniques into a new battle technique and was preparing to test its power in the Dark Night Forest. Just then, Venerable Feng entered. Qing Shue immediately sensed that her master had something to discuss. He wanted to take her to participate in the competition held by the 4 great academies in 3 months. Qing Shue readily agreed. But before all that, he wished to return home. Venerable Feng readily agreed, reminding him to be safe on his journey before departing. Meanwhile, Venerable Feng was already overjoyed. This upcoming competition would allow him to boast to his peers about his remarkable disciple. The next morning, Qing Shue departed from the Orchid Azure courtyard. Suddenly, Hua Shi and Jiang Jiu called out to her from behind. Hua Shi had received a letter from home, informing him of his father's grave illness and urging his return. The 3 decided to travel together for safety. As evening approached, they arrived at the Hua Shi family estate. Hua Shi invited Qing Shue to stay the night and continue her journey the following day. Qing Shue readily agreed. When they entered the house, the steward was already waiting. But Qing Shue sensed something amiss. The steward's demeanor had been strangely cold. Soon, they were led to Hua Shi's father, Hualong's quarters. Hua Shi greeted his father, asking if anyone had troubled him during his absence. Hualang, though gravely ill, urged his son to leave immediately and not worry about him. Before he could finish, a man strode in, followed by a group of menacing figures. At the sight of them, Hualang collapsed from his bed. He pleaded with the man to spare Hua Shi and Jiu, but the man remained unmoved. He declared that the royal family would never forgive them for killing Princess Baiming Yanjue. In truth, he had long desired to eliminate the Hua Shi family and was merely using this incident as a pretext. Seeing the aggressive stance of the intruders, Hua Shi apologized to Qing Shue, lamenting that he had brought this trouble upon her. Qing Shue, however, replied that she considered it an honor to be implicated with them. It was then that the man noticed Qing Shue. His eyes lit up with lustful intent upon seeing her face. He ordered his men to seize Hua Shi and Jiu and to bring Qing Shue to his own quarters. As they lunged forward, Qing Shue summoned her black wolf. A massive, dark shape materialized. The black wolf had revealed its true form. The men, completely underestimating the seemingly harmless husky before them, boasted about adding dog meat to their dinner that night. But after a brief, chaotic struggle, the black wolf dispatched them all with a single, terrifying howl. Clutching his injured shoulder, the man stared in disbelief. He hadn't imagined Qing Shue could summon a celestial beast. As the beast loomed over him, its jaws agape, he knew his life was forfeit. Terror seized him, and he trembled uncontrollably.